Welcome, not just the film club, but the first 2025 film club. Happy New Year, everyone, and Happy New Year to my normal co-conspirators of the film club.
Who are you
Sandy
calling
Q,
normal?
normalish, I don't know, and Jay from There Takes. How are you both?
Doing well, no complaints. Happy New Year to everyone, and excited to do the very first film club of 2025.
Woohoo! Happy New Year.
Yeah, I think it's the time where you just need to relax. Everybody's going back to work, and you've just eaten too much, and then you've still got loads of chocolate left. You're like, oh, do I go in for the chocolate and crisps and all that still? Yeah, so it's that time when everybody's like,
than ever. Like, what was with the chocolate this year?
Why?
I don't think I got enough chocolate. I'm a little disappointed now.
Oh my gosh.
Got loads. I've still got we got tubs and all that. And my girlfriend was really bad that she went to the post office and they Sandy will know, like a Quality Street tub.
Yeah.
Like one of the places when they went, do you want this for £1? It's like she was like, yes, I will. I came in, I was like, okay, there we go. So yeah. So it's still food. It's like, oh, I need to lose a couple of pounds now, but it was good. A lot of food, a lot of fun. For me, 3-year-old going mad. He's now in full Toy Story Woody mode. Literally, he has not stopped. I think the last time I spoke, he got the Toy Story toys, and yep, he's Woody. That's awesome. It. And when he dresses up, he's got a little thing. When he puts his cowboy hat on, you can't call him his name. He's Woody. He's Woody, and he will tell you, "I am Woody." So yeah, and for some reason, it's Toy Story 2. Don't know why.
Interesting.
It's literally out of all of them, that's his favorite. That's what he wants to watch. The Toy Story 2. So I don't even know if Toy Story is on our list, but yeah. I could just go straight into a review of Toy Story 2. I think I've watched it about 100 times or snippets of it.
They're all really good films. I mean, they all hold up. They're
got a new one. Is it when next one?
Is
not the last one.
Are they on 4 or 5? I didn't see the latest one.
4 is the last one, and now they've gone, and there is going to be a number 5. Oof. So they're rehashing it. Yeah, again. So yeah, Disney don't know what to do. So
1 through 3 were pretty good. I just never got around to watching.
4 was okay. I liked it. I've liked it. I liked it. So yeah, it's good. And they did some mini, like their mini clips. I don't know what you call them, like 6 minutes and stuff.
Yeah,
so,
little shorts.
Yeah, little
but
shorts,
your son should be wearing his Ravens shirt today because today is big playoff day. Big playoff.
But you met. Is it play? Oh, is it the first day of the playoff?
Today is big. It's yep.
And who is his team playing?
The Browns. So long story short, the Ravens used to be the Browns, but they're playing against the Browns today. So yeah,
and the Cleveland Browns.
Cleveland Browns, very good. Very good. I'm sure he'll be asleep by the time they kick off. But
he's asleep now. God, he's been asleep for at least an hour and a half. He's knackered. Yeah. So, but yeah. Anyway, but to our film now. I like this pick. The reason I like this pick, this is one of mine, of course. Now, I'm going to tell you, when we say about the wheel, there's something weird about the wheel. There's something very strange about the because it's the first one of the new year, and I will get into it, and you'll be like, the wheels brought it out again, and it's quite interesting. So stay with us, chat, because there'll be a moment in the show when I'm going to say something. But Sink the Bismarck. Now, this is a very British English film. Now, it's not one of those 40s, I suppose, movies, but it's very hard. Let's say it's British US propaganda movie. It feels like a propaganda movie. It's one of those ones where, it's what we got at the time is the success of the World War II. So it feels like it should be. This should be a like a 19. I don't know, like a 1943 movie.
45, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's like 45, like coming in, like trying to like the understanding of why the Americans are joining the war, or about to join the war, in this case, because this is, of course, before December 1941. Pearl Harbor, Americans joined the war. But this is 1960s. Now, me and Sandy had a quick chat. This should be in color if you actually think about it. 1960s, colors being out for a while, but they chose to do it in a black and white version, and we're going to probably discuss that afterwards. But yeah, this is my pick. I like it. It is very much now, I suppose, any English people, very much so. This is a Sunday, like 3:00 movie. And I remember this when, like, in probably the mid 90s, these kind of movies like Cruel Sea, Reach for the Sky, all those kind of very British war movies would be on at 3:00, Channel 4, in the British TV, and you sit down with your granddad and he would tell you about it.
Oh my God.
Tell you
Us too. Same thing. Yeah. We had, before the History Channel, these would be on like the just the regular local channels, exactly, Sunday afternoon. And then when the History Channel came along and Turner Classic Movies, there would be these whole runs of war films. Same thing. I would sit down with my grandfather, who fought in the Pacific, and watch these kinds of films. And it was this one, and Tora Tora Tora, and Midway, and exactly.
Now, I'm guessing, Sandy, you've seen this. You must have seen this. Yeah, so you've seen this before.
I had, but I didn't realize how slightly historically inaccurate it was. Again,
there are reasons, though. There are.
I know
there
are. I know. And
now,
I was like,
this is, I think we said this. So this is a dramatization of what happened at the time. This is 1960. The book was written in, Sandy, what year?
Shortly thereafter. I think 63.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. 3 years before. So 57.
Yeah, 57. Yeah, so that's it. But the declassification of all was 1975. So nobody knew much about it. So it's all kind of guesswork, word of mouth, and all that. So it kind of makes sense why very much like the coding, what the code breakers did. Really not in this. There's some US influences that are not in the movie but are heavily known in history now. So it doesn't it is heavily this is what happened, but we're playing it safe. Like that.
There were also a number of other mistakes. So the film does show where the British accidentally bombed the Sheffield when they thought it was the Bismarck. And they also very quickly show a message being sent to the wrong ship with the wrong orders. But there were a whole host of other mistakes, to your point, that didn't come out until the late 1970s. And it came out because, here on our side, I had studied the sinking of the Hood. So that part of this story I was very familiar with. I was not as familiar with the totality of what does the Bismarck mean in terms of being able to carry out the war and the potential disruptions to the shipping. I just knew, that was the ship that sunk the Hood. The Hood being one of those ships like the Indianapolis that I've studied in consequence of studying the film Jaws. Okay, we had to get to Jaws at one point. We're done. I won't mention Jaws again, but the inspiration for Jaws being the sinking of the Indianapolis, and also, there were several, ships that only had very, very few survivors, and the Hood only had 3 survivors. So yeah, it was great to read the book, great to see the film, and thanks to your explanation, to understand why the film was inaccurate. So we've already forgiven the film and the book for that.
Yeah. Jay, this is your first time, I'm guessing, watching Sink the Bismarck.
Yes, this was my first watch of it.
Yeah, so yeah, it's weird because you say you expect a 60s movie to be. I completely I've multiple times watched this and I when I looked at it, I was like, this 60s. When I put the timestamp, I was like, this ain't the 60s, it's got to be earlier. So I was like, I'm sure it's like, I thought it was like early 50s anyway. But yeah, it makes sense that they did a 60s portrayal of it. So like, I'm sorry, a black and white portrayal, but in the 60s of it. But now reasons why I normally do the clips. The first bit to the audience, I really can't do the clips. I normally put pictures up because the first bit is a real life propaganda element. February, Valentine's Day, 1939 of Hamburg. Is it Hamburg?
Yeah,
I think it's Hamburg,
shipyard.
and it's a shipyard by and there's a gentleman there called Adolf Hitler, let's call that. And yes, so I won't be showing the pictures of it, but literally it is a propaganda of the shipyard, and the Bismarck is getting sent on her way. So it's that, and there's a German propaganda, Nazi propaganda over the top of it, to the biggest, the best kind of ship that they ever been released, and everybody is, of course, saluting as they did. So that's why I can't really do the first bit, but I like the start of this because it really gets you in the mindset of, oh, hold it, this was real. It's actually a real ship. Like anybody, like I'm guessing, naive at the day that didn't know it, it's there. So now the next bit after that, we have the introduction, London 1941. Now this is why I thought it was an early propaganda movie, because it's May 1941 when this movie kind of opens up. We get over this, and I thought, well, that's December.
Yeah.
The US declare for a Second World War, and I was like, oh, I in my head, I always thought it was earlier. I always thought it was earlier. I thought it was an early propaganda movie.
I did too, because there were so many here trying to convince America to join in and to help, sooner than December 7th.
Yeah, so I was surprised, but then having Kenneth More in it, I know him from more, but I was like, he's not really young in it, and I was like, this really confused me. But it confused me in a way, like I'm guessing that's why it's it's one of those wartime, I suppose, pre-wartime classics, and it has Dana White, who most people will remember from the original Invasion of the Body Snatchers. She's in that, so.
She's in a lot of television in the United States, and I had
Yes.
no idea who she was. I probably would know her if I saw her, but it was interesting. Like when I looked her up first and then saw the film again and remembered the point where she's offered the job in New York, that follows her own life, interestingly enough. She was a stage and screen actor in Britain, but found more success when she did move to the United States to work on television. And she's got a whole trail of television credits in the United States.
I had when I looked at it's actually what she's done. Because I looked at her, I was like, oh, she's a very attractive lady for the time, and I was like, oh, I don't know her name, and then I saw her, what she read out what she's been in, and I was like, wow, she's been in a lot of movies. Completely, unrememberable name, unfortunately, but
Yeah.
memorable character in those parts. So yeah, it's yeah, it was like, oh, that's things. But I did like with the first bit, we get I like how they set up the movie, because of course you get Kenneth More going into the Admiralty, but you get the I think this bit's clever. I think this is a very well to
Yeah,
set the
I do
tone
too.
of what's going on. Instead of giving you, we're going to actually show you, actually have a disc jockey, I suppose, like a radio newsman, like an American, I'm guessing, or Canadian.
Well, this is
Is
actually him. This is
yeah.
actually Edward R. Murrow, who was the
Ah.
most famous of the broadcasters during World War II, moved from the United States to Britain to broadcast from Britain, and became one of those, one of those broadcasters that really understood that he was also there to keep morale up. So while he was reporting the news, um, he was very encouraging, and he was famous for that. And there's a film about him, which is not on the Wheel of Film, and I think I'm gonna put it on there. It's called Good Night and Good Luck with David Strathairn, who's an American stage actor playing Edward R. Murrow, and it's a fantastic movie. And I didn't think about it until I saw and remembered this, but this is really him. So he's portraying himself. Um, and yeah, he didn't age very much in 15 years from when he was actually, in the war, and then portraying himself now as he was during the war.
So I wonder if what he's actually saying isn't the script; it's actually he's teletyping, like
It
from
could be. Yeah.
from 15 years ago. That's it, because it's very stern. It's really, it's very London here, and he's giving a bit of a bleak but optimistic, let's say, that of the British. They've done it before, don't worry. It's kind of like that. It's very much like
Yeah.
like they're under the pressure, they're under the gun, don't worry, they've been here before, they're like that. And it's very much like it is a hopeful optimism, but with a very negative undertone, in that of, like, it's the darkest time, the Atlantic, the North Atlantic is where the battle must be won. And it's
He
like
wanted
that.
the
And then
Americans to know that. He wanted
yeah,
the rest of the world to know,
yeah.
that the fate of the world is at stake, but for this little island. And he would end his broadcast by saying good night and good luck. And that's the name of the film. So we'll have to add that to the wheel and
Yeah.
and watch that.
I can't remember what other war movie did we watch. And this now again has real life footage, doesn't it?
Great Escape.
Rommel.
No,
Oh, Rommel.
Rommel.
Yeah,
Yes, Rommel.
that
Yes,
one.
yes, yeah. So yeah, Rommel. So this is again, it has real life footage. So we have German. I'm guessing this is a German U-boat captain again, and they're showing what was the scourge of the North Atlantic, really, right, especially in around the North Cape and all that area around Norway. But I like this because the first bit is very much showing the real life kind of I suppose that the war, the war that people would remember. So it's like that, and you get, torpedoes in the water, and it's all you can tell it's real. It's got that,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
yeah, it's not high quality footage. Let's say that. So I like the start, because it's very much, it gives you it is very, you're about to start a war movie, but you're starting it's kind of like a modern day pseudo documentaries, but with a trying to tell the truth to it as well as best they can, especially at the time where Bismarck was well revered, like enemy ship, and then they've kind of gone, how can we get the truth out of the truth that isn't is still secret. So it's a good start to the movie. I think it you know where you are. Let's say that you know what's happening, you know what's going on, from the radio guy. Sorry, I forgot his name again. But you know what's going on. You know straight away. Oh, it's a bit of a excuse my French, a bit of a shit show at the moment. The British are literally, they're trying to search for the Bismarck, and the Bismarck keeps on disappearing. Let's say that hits, disappears. So they've got a reputation
in real life, and the book explains it. How can I put this? The paragraphs at the beginning of the book explain a little bit of the difference, but in the film, they're spotting where the Bismarck is initially, and they see the Bismarck leaving the dock at Norway. In reality, it was actually the absence of the Bismarck in certain places where she should have been that let the British know that she was heading out to the Atlantic. So they really do a good job depicting the one operative in, I think it was either Norway or Sweden, who runs down to the water, takes a look at Bismarck, goes back to his cabin, starts tapping out, and then, gets gunned down. But that was happening everywhere. And in real life, the reports that the Bismarck was in port was a good thing. When they could see Bismarck, it was a good thing. It was the absence of Bismarck in a couple of locations that then led to, starting to this all out search to find the Bismarck. So just a little difference in what kind of the genesis of these 9 days were, because it was only 9 days. It was a short life. And I can't help. There are a few parallels here. Well, I'll hold on the German officers for a moment, but by the way, those war rooms underground, I've been there. That's a fantastic.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, not this trip,
been
but in a previous trip. So anyone who's visiting London, make sure you visit the war rooms. It's a really nicely preserved museum, and there are even activities for kids. It's great. It walks you through, day in the life of the people who work there, who, yes, they did not know whether it was 9 o'clock in the morning or 9 o'clock at night, because they were working these operations, and operations weren't timed to only last 6 or 8 hours in a shift. They had to work until the work was done. So really great trip. And I think they, that part of the film with Churchill's picture, that's exactly how it is down there today. Those big tables with maps, big screens with maps, and then a picture of Churchill in every room, just like that big square picture.
Yeah. Because what they say 200 feet, I think, in the movie, don't they? Say 200 feet down.
Yeah, 200 feet down.
I can't remember what my bunker was. Anybody new to the chat, I worked in a nuclear bunker in Norfolk and multiple places across the country, mostly in Norfolk though. And I can't remember how deep it was, but you're looking at primary, top, then the walk down took a couple of minutes, and then you're looking at 3 stories. So whatever that would be, that's got to be, it's got to be 60, 70, maybe 80 meters, and they were built for a nuclear impact. So you're probably 80 meters, maybe. So 60 meters, Second World War. Yeah, and I think there's even a part in the movie where they don't realize there's an air raid going on.
No, don't even know there's an air raid upstairs. Yep.
Yeah. So 60 meters. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't know how big, because these were linked to the underground. So I'm guessing, it could be. Yeah, I'm not too sure, but yeah, that's what they say in the movie anyway. So, but so we get to that, and then we get introduced to kind of our shepherd. Now, I will spate on, this is an inaccuracy. Like, he did not exist.
There was no shepherd.
Like there was no shepherd.
I was actually wondering that when I was watching it, because I actually watched it this morning, because I didn't have time to really look into any of the historical facts of it or what it was inaccurate about. So I was curious. I'm like, I wonder if this guy actually existed, or if this is just a made-up character. I had a feeling it was made up, but I couldn't confirm until now.
There is right at the end, like the end of the movie, and I'll show it now. This is what they say.
Oh, I didn't even see this.
Yeah, so right after the credits, there is this. This film is based upon accurate operations against the German battleship Bismarck. Gratefully acknowledge the made by the Admiralty for their most gracious help, advice, and cooperation. I'm guessing that means you gave us as much as you could, but then the character called Captain Shepherd is completely fictional, and that's it. So literally, it is Captain Edwards, now known as Admiral Sir Ralph Edwards. All the names from the king and the queen at the time.
Knighted. He was knighted as have been.
Yeah, and an actual director of operations at the time. Now I'm guessing this they got told this, and then I'm guessing what Ralph Edwards did was still very much top secret, because they got told that's not the guy. So even then they must have realized, oh, that from the book, that's what he's called. They wouldn't release even the name of the guy who was the operation. So so this maybe the characteristics you don't know was spot on, of a very cold-hearted officer, a Royal Navy officer. But apart from that, completely fictional. So he made the
cold-hearted men. I need men with no heart and no soul.
Yeah, that's it. But just the brain. That's
just a brain, just a big brain.
Yeah. So so of course he enters. We still have the voiceover of the newsreader of like the war is from the Admiralty in the war rooms, and then you get a him. It's literally a handover, I suppose, if you want to call it. The ex-CO is doing literally taking him around. Does he's off to. He doesn't actually say what ship he is going to go, but the old CO, commanding officer, is off. He's now got his appointment to be the commander of a ship. I'm sure he doesn't say what it is, but now they're next on the he's now taken over, and the CO is a bit more lax. He's a bit more lets them do what he wants to do. He calls over his Batman. There we go. In the to take Shepard's things to his room. Anybody doesn't know what a Batman is? It's not Batman. It's a junior non-commissioned officer that literally does everything for the officer. So they clean, they will do their laundry, polish their boots. That's it. So when he calls his Batman over, that's what a Batman is. They have him as, senior ranks will have a Batman. But yeah, he hands over that he gets introduced to. I'm sure it's a lieutenant eating a sandwich, and then of course he gets introduced to he's kind of, I'm guessing, number 2. I'm guessing Annie. Is it Annie? Annie. Oh god, I'm actually forgot her character name.
Was it Kate? I thought it was Kate.
I thought it was Anne. I thought, oh my god.
Oh goodness, hang on.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
That's terrible.
I thought it was Anne.
It could be. Oh, IMDb went down. Hello.
There you go, Anne. Yes, Anne.
Is it Anne? Why was I thinking Kate? Oh,
yeah, Anne Davis. Yes, senior officer Anne Davis. Yeah, so we get that, and then of course we get introduced to the other kind of big wigs that are around to kind of sign off. But I do like how they introduce Shepard straight away as a bit of a cold-hearted character. When he gets his handover, he's and he brings everybody into the room. No, I'm here to kind of, my first thing is to tell you what's what. All of everybody will wear their correct dress. They will be smart, proper, and nobody will eat at their desk. And it's still, he's doing it whilst he's kind of taking out his pictures of his son and some other things. So he's kind of like, he's very, very, the best word I can say is very British. Let's say that. He feels like if you had to
that's a polite way to put it.
Yeah, very, very polite. Yeah, the snobby British officer.
He's a stickler.
Yes. So he's even though when Anne, he's kind of number 2, tells him that the officer has done a double shift and he's not left his post, but he still needs to eat, and he's like, nope, not having it. And then like he ups her because she was addressed by her Christian name, so he has a go about that. So it's like that. But then straight away, we're going. The papers are being drawn. You know what is going on. You know there's a battle to be won. So it plays out quite nicely. So again, you get the quick war room things. We know who the who's in charge, who's going to make decisions, and what is going on. And what's going on is nobody knows what's really going on. We get like that because they're a bit they're lost. Let's say that it's a sheep in headlights situation because we need to control the North Atlantic, but we're losing the North Atlantic, and the reason we're losing it is because U-boats, and then we've got this Bismarck.
And they've lost all the I mean, France is down. No, all of they're left alone. You know, Britain stands alone, and the supplies and everything that's coming from the United States, Canada, etc. What did they say? 150,000 tons of goods had been sunk ahead of this operation, and they can't go on if they can't control the sea. And Britain needs to control the seas. But Germany and the U-boats and these battleships are just wearing them down and spreading them out as well.
Yeah, it is a very, I like this movie because it makes you, I suppose one of those ones we've had before is like about the past, I suppose, like that, because though there wasn't declaring until December of this year, the American involvement on getting the goods, I suppose, like that through the shipping lanes is so paramount. This is literally very paramount. Without that, you have to have a clear route. You've got convoys of ships, and I mean these are big boys like coming over with tons. If it's metal work, if it's ordnance, if it's grains of food or whatever it is, that needs to come. We're relying heavily on North America, Canada and America, even Central America, West Indies, coming
from South America for sure.
Yeah, and it's literally you've got so much going through, and the Nazi war machine, with the U-boats, and that's it. Luftwaffe is still heavily involved, so you can't do the northern route. And it's treacherous. But then this is what I like about the movie straight away is when the admiral kind of goes, we need to know if the Bismarck has been spotted, and he literally, there's a spy we've got in Norway, and he just literally like, we need to know, and he knows he's killing the guy.
He knows,
he knows he's got direct channels. They will be intercepted. They're going to pinpoint his location, and the guy who is on the seafront, kind of pinpointing, spots the Bismarck. They go back. He kind of on the Morse code dials it back, and he's a goner. He's a goner. It's like that, and like that's it. Like, it's brutal, but like, as I think that I can't remember what exactly phrase he goes, but it's like one man kind of against what the Bismarck can do, and it's like that.
The same as when the American contractors are on the hood, and they know what's going to happen. And there's a rule. We're civilians, we're exempt. Too bad. We're not stopping this operation because there's contractors, and they met their fate as well. But the shipping lane, there were men who fought in World War I in the Army or the Navy, who also fought in World War II, many of them in the Merchant Marine, driving, they called them drivers, driving ships is the terminology we found, to deliver goods. So they were no longer fighting age, but they were the ones manning the ships to try to get them through the channel to get the goods there. And then there were some hot targets that the British had, right? That the Germans had. The British were using Hood as like it's flagship, hey, this is the biggest, coolest, most successful that we have. But you heard I don't know if it was in the book or in the film. I think it was only in the book. The German commanders commenting on not just doing the job of interrupting the shipping, but they wanted a big target. They wanted Hood, or they wanted to sink the Queen Mary. Like they wanted that headline that the Queen Mary was sunk, which they didn't, which was good. But they were going after headlines as well, and the propaganda machine to make them seem even more dominant than they perceived that they were.
Yeah, it is because it's this. Even to the movie, you can see it's cat and mouse. It is literally this literally is like that. Where are they? What's going on? It's literally it's a shame they didn't have more, I suppose, intelligence in briefing with the story, because I think that gives a lot to it, as we know with the decoding and all that, how they actually did it. This movie is very much a cat and mouse. It's literally they make it out like it's a guessing game kind of a way. We believe, like, even when they go, there's the 4 routes through the North Atlantic, and they go like the Greenway, the Faroe Islands, you know, the Outer Hebrides, and they give like the different routes, and like, yes, but which one? And I think even when the admiral goes, yes, you're telling me it could be all 4.
And it would drop in the ocean.
You guys aren't helping me.
And the ocean's huge. Even if you know which one it is, the ocean is still huge. So, you know, kind of understanding the scale. So, Jay, having not seen the film before, the one thing I thought might be difficult for someone who's not seen the film is the kind of so what factor. Because what you see you're hearing everybody say what, I almost said, okay, I'm going to say it. You're going to hear everyone say, in a way, what a technological terror you've developed over there in Germany. But are you seeing it? Because I feel like when I see the film, I don't feel the scale, because you don't see the Bismarck next to a whole fleet of other ships. You're not understanding. So did you see the Bismarck in the film and then say, so what? Like, did you get that?
Yeah, I mean, definitely a little bit now that you mention it. At no point, I didn't really realize it while watching, but looking back, it's like at no point was I really like, oh, damn, like this is a force to be reckoned with. I think part of the, reason I was able to just understand that it was the kind of previous conversation you guys had while I kind of, just listened along about this whole story in the Bismarck and what it represented in terms of this giant, massive warship and all that. Because it wasn't honestly a story about World War II that I knew much about. So having you guys have kind of filled me in a bit on it was probably what helped me just understand that it was this big force to be reckoned with, more than I was kind of shown it in the film, which I didn't realize till you just kind of pointed that out, that, yeah, that was kind of the case where it didn't really feel like it was any bigger than any other ship that was, mentioned in the film.
Yeah, I suppose that's right, because even with the German propaganda at the beginning, when they do the launch, there's no scow to it because there's no other ship next to it.
Right.
Yeah. There's no destroyers, there's no frigates or anything. So yeah. So actually, yeah, it would have been good to have that. But yeah, this thing was armed to the teeth. Let's say that it's
16-inch guns and essentially double hulled, but not technically double hulled. Like it was compartmented so that, essentially, like we would say, way back when in history during the Revolution, we would say that the USS Constitution was Old Ironsides, because up there in Boston, where Jay is, you've got the Constitution that bombs would just literally bounce off of, because it was double hulled for a wooden ship, for a frigate. I love the word frigate. And we have one here in Baltimore called the Constellation. Its sister ship is here in Baltimore.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
The Bismarck was sort of that way. It was compartmented, so it could take hits and not sink the ship.
Which you do start to see.
The Titanic made, by the way.
Right. And you do see a little bit of that in terms of like when they do hit, the kind of reaction by the people on the Bismarck is like, oh, is tiny hit, no big deal, not worried about it type of thing. So They do try to represent it in the storytelling and the dialogue, but yeah, I guess it's a really good point that in terms of the visuals, you don't really feel it. But 1960s, it is what, fair enough. Technological constraints in terms of filmmaking, you can understand it.
Yeah, because I don't know if they blur out the ships, like when even the next one, when they like it's lucky most of this movie, they even explain it, that it's foggy.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they are actual ships that were just filmed differently, or they were model made from a distance, because there's a lot of the when you see the carriers, I suppose, like that, and the frigates and the destroyers, they are from the distance. They are very tiny. So I don't know if they were actual ships or they were models, and they were like, how do we make this work? Let's defog.
Well, and to their credit, for as much as maybe, because the stuff we've been able to see now in terms of movies and visuals and all that, it's obviously you can't compare it, but to their credit, I do think it was done really well, to put this all together in the 1960s to make it feel, realistic. Because when you're watching it, you don't really look, it is tough to tell. Is that a model? Is that actual footage? Can't really tell. So, to their credit, they did a good job with what they could do. Maybe they couldn't quite show the size of it compared to other ones, but they were able to give you the idea of kind of what was going on the open seas there. So, got to give them credit their words too.
And you certainly have the reaction of the character, the sense of urgency, the dismay. And then, of course, later we get the scenes of what its guns can do very effectively and very quickly.
Well, you can see as well, they need visual recognition from the Air Force. It's like that. So it's like they don't have that. Like you can see, like when they first spot it, they're kind of like, is it not? Like they don't know. It's just it's in the fog. And I think the first like real visual we get is this, and I don't think this gives it scale. I just brought it up here. It doesn't like that.
It just feels like a battleship. It doesn't really show like this is a monstrosity of a battleship.
Because you're on a huge ocean.
What is that? Is it the Roosevelt? Is it the carrier, the Roosevelt? Is it that one? Is it that one, the stupid one that takes, like, you can get lost on it? I can't remember.
The current one? Yeah, I mean, we have several, but
I'm sure it's the Roosevelt. I went past it once, and when you see that, and you're
it's in
like,
San Diego now. Yeah,
we're tiny. We're like, oh, that thing is a beast, and it's like, when you go past those ships, you look out and you're like, oh, we're at full speed, and we're still like, there's much of the ship to go. You can't understand, like, probably that. Of course, it's not going to be that scale, but how big, like, these things, like, if you actually think of a freak of nature, I suppose, like that, these things shouldn't be able to sail, and it's like that. Like,
exactly. How do they float?
Like,
it does. Yeah. It does really blow your mind. I mean,
physics.
It's as you said, technology, a technical. What have we created kind of thing, but it's amazing, because you think like but also that it's not just the fuel, they're heavily plated. It's like how much ammunition they got, like all that, and then the crew, all the supplies. This thing weighs some, and like it's a death trap. I always think like I was Royal Air Force. I couldn't have gone into, like, when I was on HMS Albion, I was like, you're kind of screwed if you're down below. Like that, if you get hit, like, God bless them, the people like that, and we get that later in a couple of scenes. It's like, I just couldn't do it. It's like that. I know modern warfare is much different for any navy across the world, but then the Navy still rules the sea. The aviation can do their part, but they're not long range. Every things like the bombers, if they get out, they're slow, they can be picked off. And there's even, with the flak you get later in that, when the Bismarck opens up, it's like, it's the Navy that is gonna be the pivotal point of the Second World War, and that goes into when, of course, the US engagement to it, of how important having just the numbers in the prominent parts of the sea, and it's like that. And I think a lot of history buffs and all like that know the Americans didn't mind making us parts and sending it our way. That's what would the as well the as we know now, what's been declassified is like they shouldn't have been doing it, but they were still helping the cause. You know, we'll make that, so we'll make it so you can put it together like I suppose like a Lego.
Yeah, we had those little, from as big as a battleship to as small as a little escape kit in a baseball. We were doing that in different places in the United States during World War II. So, but your point about the sea, when you think about this battle and really World War II, the pivot from dominating the seas on the seas to the next war is going to be at sea, but it's going to be one in the air. This is it's the game Battleship, right? But now you need the carriers, and the carrier warfare is now good, and sub warfare is now going to take us into the next decades and centuries and the wars that are going to follow. And it's so important in this film. You've got a battleship that's fast and things can bounce off of it. But if you've got carriers with your Air Force right there, that's where warfare is going. So a good representation here of how even such a technological advance could then become overcome so quickly. The speed of new technology and warfare during these years is just unbelievable. And warfare drives technological change. Every major war, we get so much amazing technological advances coming after that. So important historical point in time.
Yeah. Well, it is. And I think if to that point as well, like if anybody's been at sea, and I mean at sea, away from any landmass, and when you look around and all you can see is sea, and you're not that far away from the horizon, this is what their problem is, because they could just be there. And you get that in other sea Master and Commander is a great one.
Oh yeah,
they can just appear out. That like sail ships and like that. This is they're tracking them, mostly by radar and other forms of coding, decryption of Nazi interception of their the radar signals. But if you've ever been out there, and I must say, it's one of the weirdest feelings you have, is when you look out and you can't see land. It's very bizarre. In a way, you're like, oh, that's odd. And like, because you like that. And I always think the guys, like we have that at the end, abandoned ship, and there's no land.
And then what? Land. Yeah, and then what?
Like, literally,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's got to be the it's either you go down with the ship, you burn to death, you whatever is happening. Otherwise, you're in the middle of especially like the Atlantic isn't a wall motion. It's not a wall motion. So yeah, it's got to be like, for these guys, like it's scary as anything when they know their job, but as soon as they come across enemy sighted, ship sighted, that's the clock on, do your job. But this is when they get Bismarck sighted, that is a fear. It's and I think they very softly over the top like that of like the Bismarck is the bee's knees. Literally, it would have been good in the movie, probably cost too much money, to see the fear of the sailors is when they hear Bismarck sighted, they know,
because you can't run from it. The superior firepower and speed, those two, that combination, you're toast.
Yeah. But yeah, it's again, this, even when we kind of know what path it's going to go. Literally, the British, they're screwed. They've got a couple of carriers. Well, one, the Ark Royal is the carrier, and they're down in Greece. there's a couple other ones doing the Mediterranean run, and then they have like the 2 on each
The Prince of
convoy
Wales
from
is brand new, and
yeah.
the book goes into how new it is, and there's some problems with that ship, so it's not completely reliable, and the crew has not been trained. They haven't done a proper what we would call what do you guys call it? We call it a shakedown over here. What do you call it when you send a ship out
Oh,
to get
I
fitted
don't
out?
know. That would have to be for somebody who's Navy. I'm not too sure what the Navy equivalent is. Yeah, I'm guessing it would be. Yeah, like we same in Air Force. It would be a shakedown. So I'm
Like
guessing.
here,
Yeah,
the ships that were built in Norfolk, Virginia, like my grandfather was on one of the 2 minesweepers.
Norfolk.
I'm sorry, I can't do it. Norfolk, Virginia.
Norfolk.
Norfolk. I can't.
Norfolk. It's easy.
One of the 2 minesweepers he was on. So just the trip from that place in Virginia all the way down through the Panama Canal, all the way up the coast of California, and then out to the Pacific takes a couple of months. So in that trip to get from the being built to getting over to Pearl Harbor was kind of the shakedown, right? They had enough time to
Yeah.
get things working and find what wasn't working, and even head off to San Francisco for repairs if they needed to before heading out to the Pacific. But here they said this ship did not even have that opportunity. So
they're all green. They learn as you go along. Kind of you're being sent out. Yeah, but that's the thing, because they like when they're they got the map and they're like, this is who. They're like, oh, if they go that way, it's them. If they go that way, we don't want them to. And it's the hood.
It's just not enough.
No,
it's not enough in the fleet, and
that's it. And then they kind of trying to work out the mathematics. If they go that way, could anybody else get there in time? They're like, nope, we just haven't got enough. It's like that. We're like, and I think even the Admiral, even if we had another 100 ships, we would still be too short. And that is not just against the Bismarck. That means they just can't cover the area. It's like that. We like that. And that's the set. You're saying like the British, we're the only guys out there at the moment. It's like everybody else is like, given up. And it's the Royal Navy is the only ones in the North Atlantic, and they're scattered across doing the Mediterranean, North Africa. It's all and then they've got to do convoys as well from North America. It's
so at this point the Germans have France have they this is when France, did they scuttle its own fleet? Did the British sink its fleet? They had. Okay,
British, the British.
So the Germans have the ports, but they don't have the ships.
Yeah, so the British scuttled, the French. I think I can't remember Marseille. Definitely, I can't remember the other ones on that the Mediterranean, like the Mediterranean coast. But most of the time, the British were like, "Well, we can't have them. You're not having them." So they, literally, That's anybody doesn't know what that word means, scuttles, because my girlfriend, it kind of means you kind of blow them up. You make sure they're not seaworthy. So they're like that. So it's making sure once the French surrendered, that the Germans couldn't get anything that was useful to them. So the British made sure basically commando units as well with the Royal Navy went in and did the docks, did the scuttling, all that, to make sure we're going to waste your time. If you're going to try and get out of that, it's going to be more problematic for you to use these coastal things. I think Norway was slightly different. I think the Germans really if once they did Denmark quite easily. Of course, that is most people don't realize that is attached to Germany. The off, and then you got Zealand, that is separately. But once you go off that into the Baltics, very easy to dominate those waters. So the Germans really did that. So mostly the Scandinavian fleet was saved by the Germans, to be honest. But the French, it was take it out by the British as the best we could. So but it's things. But I get back to that, like once we get back to the kind of the movie as all that, you can see the kind of arrogance what the movie portrays of the German officers, I suppose, like that. You call it
Yeah, I
that, like
wanted
that.
to ask, did we think that because the book doesn't really go into the
No, because
German
we get
officers, but boy, he wanted that glory. Boy,
yeah,
Lucian's the admiral of the fleet or whatever,
yeah. Well, he
fleet
comes out, doesn't
commander.
he? Like he's I never got my recognition in the First World War. So I
Yeah,
would like to. I didn't read up about him if he was a actual commander of the German Navy in the First World War, and then of course the the fleet commander of the Nazi propaganda machine, kind of in the Second World War. It would have been quite interesting to because it seemed like he recognizes himself as quite, I'm a good commander, I did well, I didn't get recognition, and now the Führer is giving it to me. He's like that because there's throughout the movie, like he gets these private messages, doesn't he? Even like he gets happy birthday from Adolf himself,
very proud of
sent to
that.
him. Yeah,
Very proud of
and
that.
he's like very like very proud. And then he's like when the detachments he gives to give his speeches to the crew, it's literally, you know, from the higher ups in Berlin that he could get. So I think he's now he's recognized at the top level of the German machine, but he's very, like, they portray him as very like, we cannot be beaten. It's like that I said, Sandy, you said the Titanic, we cannot be sunk. It's literally that kind of
Yeah.
arrogance.
And it's that pride, and it's the
Mm.
you know, there I don't think there was a fleet commander on the Bismarck itself. And I mean, the head of the German Navy was Dönitz, who ended up, right, he was kind of the last man standing when they were all essentially wiped out at the end, right? He was the ranking person after Hitler fell, and all of, you know, Hitler's right hand men were dead and gone. Dönitz was the last one standing. He was sort of the next in command. That's not what this gentleman is portraying. I think this is I'll have to look at. I think this is a completely made up character, but he's talking in the tone with the rhetoric of Hitler and others who were harboring that anger from World War One. Like everything he said in that speech about, the glory that was lost and the way we were treated at the end of that was Hitler. That was the essence of all of his anger and speeches, was we were done dirty at, the end of World War One. So, hey, this is this is where we, this is where we shine and we can't be beat. And you get the feeling that Lindemann, who is the commander of the Bismarck, there were Germans who were Germans, and there were Germans who were the bad guys, the bad guys, just like we knew in the Rommel story. And I sort of got the feeling that Lindemann, when at the end of Lucian's speech, when he said Heil, it was kind of a quiet response back from those around him. There wasn't a resounding chant back. It was quiet. So kind of got the feeling they were trying to portray Lindemann as more of a sailor and a German rather than part of the party. I don't know if either of you kind of got that.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense. Yeah, I think that's even with when we watch Rommel, they try and do that. Like Rommel is a German officer in the German army, and the party is the party. This is, I think, they try to do that with that as well. There are you get that a lot with these kind of the movies, with other ones we watch, is like, not everybody is a Nazi. Let's say that, like nobody affiliated with, they're not all wearing the brown jackets, let's say that. And I think that they do that. It's toned quite well in the movie, that you get the arrogance of the Berlin, I suppose, like that. Like we are not beaten, we will not surrender. And it's like even when later on, like, Lindemann kind of goes, we're low on fuel, we need to go back, and he's like, retreat, we don't retreat. And he's like, no, we need to refuel. He's like, that we've been out. And he's like, no, this is, we can't be beat even with less fuel. We need that. And it's the stupidity of you cannot be beaten. And it's like, hold it. If we go to dock, get refueled, then we're in a better position, and we probably can then get reinforcements to come with us.
But it's not as dramatic. It doesn't have the headlines. It doesn't have the impact and get the glory that he wants. His glory.
Yeah, that's it. He wants my name. We took it. We took out the Royal Navy, this undefeatable Royal Navy. We took them out, and so it's. Even when he's giving his speeches to his crew, isn't it? It's all about, we will be remembered. We will go down in, the Third Reich history of the people that, people need to be inspired by us, and they will be inspired by us. And it's the rhetoric. It's the doctrination of the Third Reich. And he's literally, I'm milking it up. He's literally milked it all up. It's, even though he's been given, the command, he's literally the what's coming out of. He believes it, doesn't he? You can see it in his face. He's like that. Oh, you can't. The Third Reich is the right way. It is the right way, and it's like nothing but right. And we are the right to do what we're doing. This is, it's a human destiny that we become the dominant species, I suppose is the best way to put it. It's naivety, it's stupidity, and it's unfortunately it's history that you had that. But it's coming to. Well, we're going to go on to the next bit is they've gone out and they've taken. I think it's they call it. Is it the Denmark Strait? Is it that? Is it that's what they call it?
I
can't remember. Is it the Iceland of Denmark? I can't remember which
Denmark Strait sounds right.
Yeah, because it's Greenland from Greenland, so they've taken that, and then they've realized what is going on. So now they've got what's the other ship that is with the Prince?
The Huygens, which when I was reading the book, I read it as Eugene. But it's thankfully, watching the film, I was pronouncing it incorrectly. It's spelled like Eugène, like the French spelling of Eugène, but it's Huygen. And by the way, it was the Prince Eugen that was completely fitted out with cameras and filming everything. So a lot of the footage that we get in different, but not just used in this film, but a lot of the World War II footage that we get from these battles comes from the Prince Eugen, from the German ship.
So now they're coming across the Hood and the Prince of Wales. Now, Sandy, I'm going to leave this. I'm going to, because you've done apparently the Hood. Explain the Hood, HMS Hood.
The Hood was, essentially the flagship of the British fleet, and it was being used in all the propaganda. It was actually hosting, when it wasn't in combat, it was hosting tours of diplomats, and all the people that Britain wanted to influence around the world would go on tours. They would have dinner on the Hood. There would be dancing on the Hood, believe it or not. So this was the pride of the British fleet, and of course had had success. It was not just for show. It was an amazing an amazing ship. The target for the Bismarck, this would be the ship that if you could come across any of them, this is the one that you wanted to take down. Now, the Hood was not new. The Hood was built during the First World War, so this was not a brand new ship. There were some issues. The Bismarck chose to fire, and this would have been, and it was. It's star catch in the sea. unfortunately, it took damage when the Bismarck was firing on it. It took damage, and then it took a direct hit and exploded. A shell hit right under the bridge and just completely exploded from the center of the ship, breaking the ship in half. Amazingly, sadly, the entire ship's complement died, but for 3 people. So only 3 survived. And I'm sure all 3 told their stories, but there's one of the gentlemen is Ted Briggs, who passed away in 2007 or 2008, I believe. And he was one who was, his story was recorded. I'm sure the others recorded their stories as well, but I'm familiar with Ted Briggs telling his story of the battle and the rescue. Of course, the Bismarck. What's amazing is the Prince of Wales was there. The Bismarck could have chosen to continue fighting, and may have been able to take out the Prince of Wales, but it didn't. And they did show in the film, not the commander of the ship. Again, it was Lutyens, the fleet commander, who said, no, we won't pursue, we'll let them go. Not sure why, like, and I don't know why they didn't pursue, but the obvious devastation of this battle, which was so fast. This ship exploded and sunk incredibly quickly. But the story of having only 3 people survive out of an entire ship's complement of over, I think it was just short of 2,000. It's just such a harrowing story. And a surprise and an utter shock, which I think they also depicted quite well when this the cablegram comes in saying, hood blown up. Those are the exact words, of the exact message that came in. Hood blown up. And you see everyone in the room just go blank and quiet. It is shock. It is utterly shocking. And I think they portrayed that quite well. This was now desperate hour, more desperate than any other hour. The news went around the world, and the Germans, being thrilled that they've demonstrated their power at sea, were thrilled for the story to go around the world. But again, it was one more reason for America to get into we still didn't get into the war. But this would have been another example where British leadership would have come to the United States and said, okay, now help, please. Please, this is our, as they've, called it, the darkest hour. And it wouldn't be for a few more months that the United States would get into the war after being attacked at Pearl Harbor.
So earlier, at the beginning, I said the wheel is amazing. The wheel does something, doesn't it? It does something. Now, the hood. It's not my family, but it's New Year, and you're supposed to remember loved ones lost and all that. So I was watching the movie with my girlfriend, as we always do with the film class one. She was like, I don't think I'm going to like this. And then the hood gets mentioned. And she was like, why do I know the hood? I was like, it's a famous battleship. It blew up. It's really famous, blah, blah, blah. And then she was like, no, there's something about the hood. There is something I know. So she got on the phone to her mum, and then, oh, your great grandma brother on your dad's side died on the hood.
Wow.
And I was like, well, what's his name? And there he is.
Oh my gosh.
Now, the funniest thing about this, I managed to find this, and this is the first time they had ever seen a photo of him in his uniform.
Wow.
So they've drawn as a kid and all that. But I was like, that is good. So yeah, got the Trotter. So like that. Yeah, Ralph William Trotter, petty officer.
42. That's quite old for serving aboard ship. Wow.
So yeah, petty officer. So he's been in a while. But yeah, so the will literally gave something to they didn't ever see him in his uniform. So yeah, it was that I managed to find this quite easily. Yeah, so there are still the unwritten records that I found. They can't account to everybody. The records were incomplete. Who was actually aboard the ship? So yeah, it was quite the will did the will thing, and I was like, what? We had to stop the movie like that. Wow. This point like that in the movie.
Oh, of course.
Wow, yeah, like that. So yeah, it's
wow, that's crazy.
My girlfriend's family had somebody who perished on the hood at the time. So yeah, and I'm guessing looking at telegraphic very hard to say in one word. It's going to be in the middle of the ship somewhere.
He was exactly where the critical hit.
Yeah, would have been
hit right around the bridge. He would have been in the bridge or just below the bridge.
Yeah.
Which is where the critical shell hit. And it broke in half. The ship, this massive ship, is said to have broken half. And there is footage. The footage. Either from the Prince Eugen or another ship, maybe the Prince of Wales, but there is footage of it, and just the speed at which it's gone.
Well, I always thought like the explosion, because like they hit it and it's like boom, it's like that, and there you can see like even to the Prince of Wales, they're like shocked. They're like, ooh, like that, like that's not normal. It's like, the amount of people just in just like milliseconds. Yeah, it's just the ordnance hit at the right, literally a meter of space, literally hit the right thing, didn't it? And it literally, unfortunately, gone. It's gone like a whole ship. Like,
it's kind of like that 1 in a million shot.
Yeah,
and which we're also going to see with respect to the Bismarck. So it was 1,415 men lost on the hood.
Wow.
3 survivors. Unbelievable. So, well, God bless Jade's ancestor who gave his life for freedom.
It'd be great. We worked out, I think it would be classed as a great uncle. So it's like that on, so it was just one of those ones like that. So it's weird because his family has if another movie comes out, one of her family's in another movie that's actually on the will as well. So another one of on her mother's side for the bridge over the River Kwai.
That's right. You were telling me about that.
Yeah. So if that comes up, we have another Ralph. Both of them were called Ralph. What is very
no kidding?
Completely didn't know each other in the same parish, I'm guessing, in where they lived. But it's completely two different. One Navy, one Army, and both ended up being in a very historical moment. One survived. And then, one unfortunately didn't. So, but
the magic of the wheel of film, amazing.
Yeah. So when I was like, the wheel's done it again, like that. So So I've completely lost. So the hood is gone.
The hood is gone, and now it's bad. It's bad. They've got to sink this ship.
Yeah, and they've lost it. They've it's out there. They've got the Norfolk, the Suffolk, the Prince of Wales is still there, but it needs to go back. And it's literally again, it's cat and mouse. They're at this time, it makes out the movie. It's a bit of luck that they refined her, but I'm guessing, as we know, with the Enigma encryptions and all that, especially from later movies, and what Berkeley did with the coding, and of course the American support as well. What they weren't supposed to be doing is it wasn't as, oh look, we just lucky enough through the fog we found her again. It's more heavily based on intelligence, of breaking the code. It's more. It's a shame the movie didn't know that, I suppose, like that, or the novel when it was written, because I think it would have made a very much more interesting story to the movie of like, oh, there's more to it than just a little bit. The Admiralty were just a little bit cleverer than the Germans. No, there's a lot of cogs in the wheel, let's say, that got everything to work. And then also, and I think they do well in the Imitation Game, isn't it? They do that well, of like when they've got to, we can't, we broken the code, but we can't save them all. And there's a good bit like, you got to play your cards very close to your chest. And I think that's a very good movie to show that, we've done it, but we can't tell anyone because it's still a secret. They don't know we know.
Still keep it. Exactly. It's important that they don't know that we know. Yeah.
So that dramatization of that film, it would have been good to have just a little bit but they didn't know. That's it. It was even then, like say, like 75. That's this is 1941 when this operation happened. To be declassified until later, it's a thing. But I've always I've read, just going off a bit of tangent, is like people always wonder, why haven't they made a remake of this, like a kind of modern, like, it's an interesting with the once the declassification, it's a very interesting story, because you have the spies, the decoders, the Americans, like everybody. There's the Royal Navy, everybody's doing something, and it's very, it could be that kind of, you don't even have to but the Imitation Game doesn't do it. Like, you don't have to actually see a battle, you just need to see the clogs turn. It'd be really interesting like that. I wouldn't even have to see the Bismarck, you just need to just know what, wow, these are bloody, this is clever, like how they do it in the Imitation Game. It's just like, wow, this is clever, this is there's a couple of smart people out there.
I did actually wonder that while watching. I was surprised that it hadn't been something people had, or by people I mean some studio somewhere, whether it's Hollywood or over in Europe, wherever. I am surprised nobody's tried to redo this movie or redo this story in movie format.
History is better than fiction sometimes, and take everything you've just described, plus add in the mistakes that were made on both sides, because I think that makes for an interesting, story. As I mentioned, they show the bombing of the Sheffield here, but there were so many other mistakes that both the British and the Germans made, that it was almost by total chance that they did find the Bismarck. And the Bismarck was damaged and they mention the Bismarck leaking oil. That in real life played a part in it being found, because it was leaving a trail. It was leaving a glowing green sheen on the top of the ocean in the oil that it was losing. And they did this maneuver similar to, oh heck, what film where they're going to go, it goes in a direction, it completely turns around, and it backtracks on itself, so that the trail of oil then goes kind of like in the snow. If you're being chased by someone in the proverbial snow, you backtrack on your footprints so that eventually the footprints end. That's what they did in the ocean when they realized that this trail of, no matter how fast they were going, they were still going to be detected because of this persistent leak, which, yes, the German commander really did order the divers over the side of the ship while the ship was still underway. What in the heck could they have possibly done while the ship was underway to patch an oil leak? I don't know, but obviously they didn't. But there were so many of those other little things that didn't make it into the film that could make for a really good film today. Plus, if you did show the Bismarck, you could also maybe get a little more of the scale of the terror.
But yeah, it's again, it's like a missed opportunity. But like you miss it because you know, like, oh, you know this now. So that's the point. Like the thing is, but yeah, with the movie again, it goes back into a kind of like the fleet admiral. We've done the hood, you know, and like again, he's very joyous like that. He's getting the recognition again like that, and like even the captain is even we've got a little leak, nothing serious, and like that oil leak, and it's like that, and then it's all about now back to kind of the war room of Shepherd, of what he's actually, and you know what they actually are going to do. So we got like everything's like we've had the Bismarck do the hood, and now we get Shepherd trying to come up with a plan that isn't very, it's what is it, I can't remember what we called it, like he's diverting everything away from the convoys, leaving them unprotected to go over the Bismarck, and everybody's like, this is it. And we get is it this picture? No, sorry, which one is it? It's there you go. The radar communication from Churchill himself saying Bismarck is the #1 priority. No, I actually don't know if this was an actual communicate. I'm guessing it was maybe to actually that we lost the hood. You've got to get the kind of revenge, isn't it? It is a revenge like that. We can't have another loss. The Bismarck cannot sink another ship. Like it's gonna morale, you know, this is we can't have this kind of phantom beast out there that is indestructible, that, you know, any Royal Navy comes across it, they like, you know, oh, we're done for, you know. So it's we out of things. So Shepherd, you know, he comes with the idea of putting nearly enough every single ship, you know, the Ark Royal, everything got to come from Greece, everything out of the Mediterranean, the convoy protection unit, everybody's going into the North Atlantic. So
they call it H Command, the units in northern Africa that the Ark Royal was part of. Do you know, like, what did that mean? I don't know what H Command meant. They reference it in the book and in the film, and I didn't look it up. I guess it's just the call sign or code for the part of the fleet that was there. But they do now the book also, and I liked the film for depicting this, but there's a part of the book that there's a conversation about how the Swordfish has been maligned in history as an incapable aircraft, and the writer was very clear about giving the Swordfish its due. And in the film, you see quite a few, you see those are the planes with the cloth wings, and they're open, they're exposed, but they're taking the photos. They're very important. They're taking the photos, and then eventually they're gonna engage. So I thought it was kind of interesting that you clearly saw what kind of aircraft it was, because in the book he goes on and on and on about how important these aircraft are, and they don't get the credit that they deserve in history. So not an incapable aircraft, as the writer said.
No, when you kind of think about what was the Hurricane, the Spitfire, and then you've got these aircraft, they're like
these little ratty-tatty.
Like, oh, hello. Yeah, it's something
they
that should
did
be
their job.
Back in the First World War. It's kind of like that. They would have been good then, not now. But yeah, it's I'm guessing coming off a carrier, what they could have done then. They needed some ones that can quickly take off. Let's say that. But I suppose, like, from the movie point of view, you kind of, this is where Shepard's been cold. The Admiralty we're doing our job. We're doing our job. And then we kind of, the first like indication of he has a bit of a soul. Let's say that, because before that, he doesn't. He's a really, it's just a job. We're doing the job. That you don't need to know anything. We're doing the job. And this is where we kind of find, I forgot his son's name, but is it Tom?
Thomas, I believe, or Tom.
Yeah, Tom. Yeah. So we get like he's on the Ark Royal, and yeah, so he sends him a letter. There's a bit of back and forth and that. And this is where they're going to play on something here. They slowly do. It's not a big building of a character. It just shows even the meanest and the coldest of us have got a bit of heart. Let's say that later on.
Mm-hmm.
But with the movie again, everybody's got to go in position. We've got the Germans are like, we're indestructible. The fog has lifted. The fog is dropped again. Then we have the open aircraft, as Sandy said, the biplanes, trying to spot anything, really, aren't they? They're literally out there, they're trying to do reconnaissance really in literally terrible fog. And so saying like there's even with the fleet commander, he's like, it's good for us, it's brilliant, we're in fog. And the British are like, oh no, it's fog. Like that. So it's fog. They're out scouting. It's this, so they get, is this the one where they hit the Bismarck, is it? Or is this, so the first in the thing is they get their torpedoes, don't they? They actually find it, they hit the Bismarck, and then they come back, don't they, and actually say it made no damage. It didn't.
Yeah, and this is when they did in real life. This is when the oil leak does begin. So they are leaking oil. So they did get kind of just a prick. They just grazed it. And yes, the torpedoes were essentially bouncing off. The one or two that did hit. The other thing is it could turn so quickly. It could, turn away from the trajectory of the torpedoes. And then the planes were facing massive anti-aircraft. I mean, the guns were firing on them, and several were shot down. They don't think they show maybe one getting shot down, but several of those were shot down. So they found it. But what can they do about it? So they've got to converge all of the ships. I think it's the second run when they think they're going after it is when they're armed with these new torpedoes with these magnetic triggers that they didn't work very well. They were exploding when they hit the water, thankfully, because they were aiming at the Sheffield and only one or two hit. That's true. That is a true story. That did indeed happen. That was portrayed relatively correctly here in the film. But then when the Bismarck fires on the Solent, that didn't happen. The Bismarck sinking another ship called the Solent, that did not happen. The Bismarck didn't, I don't think, sunk another ship after that. But they had to put a little more, a little more terror into the film by sinking another ship that didn't exist in this case.
So yeah. We get a little bit of heart now through the movie itself, don't we? So we get back and is with the Admiralty, and then they're making a plan, like again, it's cat and mouse. What's going on? We got say the plan isn't going well. We don't know what's going on, but of course, then Shepard gets the kind of news like that I suppose any parent doesn't want to hear. His son is missing. So this is where he takes it very, very a very stern at point, doesn't he? So, but then I think we missed the point. Sorry, with Anne, because there is a point earlier when it's quite like when he says, "Oh, are you married? Like, why are you here?" Like, I think there's a point, and she kind of goes, "No, I'm not," and he's like, "Well, I'm guessing because she's maybe slightly older nowadays." Like at that time,
isn't that odd? He says,
"Yeah, that's odd." Yeah, he's like,
isn't that rude?
Yes.
To ask.
But yeah, so like,
but again, he's clueless. Because many women of that age during that time were single because they lost a husband, a boyfriend, etc. So how clueless is he? You know,
and you would think he would be well aware of that, given his, his job.
And what happened to him, losing his wife.
Well, yeah, that too. Right.
Yeah. So she goes into Dunkirk, lost, great man. He wasn't anything, but he was a great man. He was I like that. He didn't have to be.
I really like that. It's just, it's about, a small little snippet of love and how it doesn't really matter. You don't have to be the smartest guy, the greatest guy, the biggest hero, but she loved him in a way that made him wonderful. And I thought that was a nice little bit of heart.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, he didn't have to be. He didn't have to be like a major. He was probably a private, but he was hers.
And she's surrounded. And she's surrounded by, in terms of military rank, much greater men. All the time, given her role, and she's around all these different guys who are way higher up in the military. So for her to kind of, put that little bit in there, I thought was really nice.
Yeah. So he's got the he kind of gets a bit of a moment of like I've just shown there, but not much. There's not much.
Good screenshot.
Yeah. But that's it. That's all the emotion you get right now of him. Is like, and then even Anne is even trying to kind of get a confidence out of him, and he's kind of like where he said you shouldn't open up at wartime. This is war. He kind of tells the story of he's returned to his house. I can't remember what whereabouts it was. Maybe Whitechapel.
I couldn't remember if he actually said or not.
Oh, he did.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Okay, I missed it,
maybe
then.
Whitechapel. I can't remember.
But he did.
Yeah. But he's he turns up. It looks, the place is normal. It looks all familiar. Everybody's there. Everything looks normal except for his house where his wife was. And now there's just the hole. And it's all like, it's the Blitz. And it's just like, he doesn't have to really say anything really much. It's just like, there's, just the large black hole is where his house was. Everything else is normal. And that's it. And then that's the only time you kind of realize, he has a bit of a soul. And even like he what does he say? He's like, at that point, the pain was so much, I told myself I would not get attached to anybody else ever again. Unfortunately, I forgot I had a son when he made that promise to himself. And it's like that. And it's like that. And then this moment has happened where his son is missing in action. He's in the aircraft whilst it's gone down. I don't think he was a pilot. I'm guessing he was something else. I'm guessing he was a photographer or gunner.
I thought he was in one of those planes that had the 3 people on it. I thought we saw a scene of him up in the air, but I could have been wrong. Might have just been another guy. Yeah.
So he's one of those. But it's a good standpoint to him. It gives him a bit more humanity, I suppose, because he's been throughout the movie so far cold, cold, direct, intelligent person, but he's not shown himself and like that. But then, of course, it gets quickly interrupted by the admiral barging in, like, we've got notice, Bismarck's been sighted, and like that, and everything back to normal. It's like that, and it's very. I think there's a scene later. My girlfriend was like, "It's very British." It's like you have like when he's had a tear, but we're back to it.
Back to work.
Back to work, everyone.
Time's up.
Like, were you crying? Don't worry. And it's like that. So it's it's a moment, but we get, of course, the Admiral comes in it like he's fixated onto his son's picture, but he's like, he blurs out for a second. He just goes into like, oh, sorry, sir, that what actually was what happened, and it's it's the information that's coming. It's it's a flying boat. So you like that. So it's a ship boat, I suppose you want to call it, is accidentally sighted what they believe is the Bismarck alone. So they're a bit of luck, and they're trying to shoot it down, but of course the communications are going out, and I think even the captain of the Bismarck has kind of said they know where we are, and so it's. Yeah, and is this where they've taken a rudder hit, haven't they? So they know they don't.
It will. They will.
Yeah, I think
in a minute. Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm.
The oil is still leaking now. In real life, at this point in the operation, where the second time they say, "Yeah, we've got her. We see her," again, it's still a little foggy, and the ship that engages is firing all she's got. Unfortunately, not at the Bismarck. They're firing at the Prince Eugen, thinking that that's the Bismarck. So in my head, if you can, see this, and it was described beautifully in the book, seeing the silhouette of this huge, massive battleship in front of you and firing everything you got, and then seeing the silhouette of the Bismarck that just completely dwarfs what you thought was a big battleship coming in behind it. And then they're like, oh, Lordy, that we've been firing at the wrong. Okay, good. Let's keep, now let's focus our guns. The Bismarck turns. When the Bismarck turned is when it took a hit to the rudder. But as was portrayed in the film, the ship's complement did not realize that it hit the rudder. They thought it hit the propeller. So they thought they were just losing speed. Then they realized they were losing the ability to steer. So it took them a little while to figure out they were going in circles, big circles, but they were going in circles. And this would be the end, because now they can't escape because they can't steer. But they didn't realize that immediately. They thought it was just the propeller that was hit, which would still have slowed them down, but they could have still navigated. They can't navigate now.
So you get, so we get on the movie, we get the blue on blue, what we spoke about. So that's it. And now we get the second attack, I suppose, like that. So
we're waiting for the George V. We're waiting for the big guns, because with the hood out, the George V is the big guns now. And George V was the farthest away when all of this started. So, and I think there's, at least I got the tone of this from the book, that the Ark Royal didn't get the credit that it should have, because, George V comes in at the very last minute and, fires the sinking shot and gets all the glory. But hey, wait a minute, we beat her up for you over here. But then when I looked into the history, it seems clear that the Ark Royal gets all the, the credit that it is due. But in the book, it seemed like, I don't know, there was a little, dismay at the amount of credit eventually given to the, and they do show in the film, it does seem like George V kind of comes in at the last minute. So there was maybe a little bias on the part of the author, who thought that the Ark Royal hadn't gotten enough credit. But I think the film does it right. So, and you even see when they say there it is, George V, there she. It's hard to, I know every ship is a she, but it's hard to say she, George V is a she. It's hard to make that work.
But even when they're down, kind of unable, again, the fleet commander, he gives another speech. He's like that, like he's, and even to where the captain, like, when can we get it fixed? And he's like, well, maybe 5 o'clock in the morning, like if the sea is calm. And he's like, I don't care about the sea. And he's like, yeah, well, what the hell? He's like, yeah, he's just like another arrogant.
The sea doesn't really care about you either. That's the funny thing about the sea.
Yeah.
Oh, good quote, Jay. That is true. I like that.
But it's again, but this is where they've got some weird reports that the Bismarck is doing north by northwest, then north, and it's like, what are they doing? And then they realize, it's not doing what it's supposed to be doing.
She's
There's
going in a
something wrong.
circle.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
They're
this is
going
where
the wrong way.
Yeah. So like they all start to kind of surround like that. So it's the time ending for the Bismarck is like that. So they all get kind of they're starting to hone in, let's say, of what is actually what their prizes, I suppose, like that. But yeah, at that point, again, you get back to Shepard, back to the humanity of Shepard, where he gets the phone call. I can't remember what division of it is, like, is trying to call the casualty unit or something, like the director of casualty. So he holds off, believing it's going to be the worst, and lucky enough, it's the admiral actually talking to him. They found your son, and like that, and he literally doesn't say a word. Literally, he's just like literally in shock. I'm guessing it's completely relief of what is actually happening, and all he does puts down the phone, and this is the screenshot, the only moment he goes into his private room, I suppose you want to call it, and kind of sees him, but she backs off quite quietly, and he has a moment, but then he comes straight out, and this is where it said, like, the girlfriend was like, it's very British. You have a cry, job's on. I've had my 2 minutes. That's it. And and they've but this is where the George the fifth is it's sighted. It's now fully engaged, the Bismarck, and it's like, it's now we're back to straight on. They found her, and they're engaging, and the next scenes are, I'm guessing, they are real footage, because there are a lot of like reloading and loading.
I think so,
moving.
for sure. And remember, even if it wasn't footage in battle, they would have used this footage in training, right, for those who were going into battle. So I think absolutely it was real footage.
So in the movie now itself, we've just got a artillery bombardment of their guns from each ship. Is trying the hardest, and then not unfortunately, but the I suppose in that terms, the Bismarck can't turn. It just doesn't have the capability to kind of get the shots it would have got, because the British can take it from all angles, and it can't maneuver, so it's just getting picked to pieces, really, like that. So and I know, like, Sandy, you probably go for more of the history thing, is like they were down and out, and I'm guessing it was again, it's a propaganda element to it, when they were like, the Bismarck has been hit, they've got news, but we've got to sink this.
It
we
has
can't
to go down.
It has to go down.
And even as they're around the table, and I think it's Anne who says, I hate this part. And just in, or whatever word she uses, the book goes into it in much more depth, that there was, a realization that there is a choice here. They're sitting ducks. We can back off and let them surrender, but we know the Germans aren't going to surrender. We can disable the ship and somehow take it over, or we can sink it and everyone's going to die. And they had to make that decision. But there was some debate in the real life story. There was some debate about that. And it was decided that for propaganda, they had to sink it. Now, there were survivors, and you did see in the film where it says, go send whichever ship they sent over to pick up survivors. And there were 100 or so survivors. But I was glad that the film did portray at least that one moment of, oh gosh, these are there's humans on this ship, They don't have a chance. They're going down. What do? We got to sink it. It's got to be
I say the fleet commander dies being arrogant and all that. And it finally
holding on
goes
to
down.
his ladder there.
Yeah. And it does where things, I remember it being torpedoed. They do give that in the movie itself, don't they? Because they artillery blow, but the last hit is we will torpedo. They like them. Let's make sure it's sunk. There's not going to be anything left of this ship. It's not going to be towed back. It's not going to be as it needs to be. In the newspapers the next day, the Bismarck sunk. That's what that's what the news article needs to say. It's like, yeah, it's nothing else matters. It's the British need a win. The Allies need a win. Let's say that at this point. And what is the biggest win? Sink the flagship of the German Navy. And it's like, yeah. So I can understand what they did it for. There probably could have been more souls survived if they didn't, but I can understand why at wartime, yeah, there is a wartime decision for, I suppose, morale and the instigation of the war going forward, that it needed to happen. Let's just say that. That's probably
it did, and it needed to appear to be easier than it actually was.
Yeah.
So the hood was sunk, blown up very quickly, and it needed to appear that Britain could not easily, but could handily destroy anything that Germany could throw at them, because back in shipyard in Hamburg was the Tirpitz, larger than the Bismarck and ready to go. So there was that looming as well. And so Britain had to demonstrate that it could take on a ship like this, because the next one was right behind it.
Yeah, it's a thing. I like the I'm gonna be really sorry, guys. I'm gonna really sorry. I do like the non-American ending to the blowing up the Bismarck, and I mean that in the most politest way.
It's fair, absolutely fair.
It's because nobody claps, nobody cheers.
Correct.
It's we go home now, and it's like that. We're not having a Top Gun moment.
No.
And I think that's raving. And anybody who served, especially I know that from people in the Royal Navy and the American US Navy, you do not cheer, you do not clap. It's you move on. It's literally you destroy it, but they were still sailors. You have that respect. I think it's good. They just literally calmly, and now we go home. That's it.
The joy is when the war is over, and that's what soldiers and sailors live by. The joy is the war is at that moment when the war.
There's no over. Hollywood roaring and cheering moment, and like that's like it's a very it's a I don't know why they Hollywood portray that to your forces. Most of the time it's literally we win, and
propaganda, same,
it's like that. It's like, oh, it's a bit sometimes a bit cringy. Let's just say that if the best way to
I agree 100%. It's cringy.
But so we go back, and then we go back to the Admiralty. They get finally the news it's been sunk. A few handshakes, and I think I like this next quote. So he goes to Anne, take a message.
That was cute.
Take a message. Kind of like, just want dinner. I just want dinner. I just want something to eat. And would you come with me? Well, yes, I'll have dinner with you. When? Now. And of course, the things.
It's 9 o'clock. Yeah, let's go for dinner.
Yeah, it's 9 o'clock. Unfortunately, they didn't get AM or PM right. He's like, it's 9 o'clock AM, and they look out and it's the sun. And I like they get saluted, and kind of two Navy like
Benny Hill right there.
Kind of moment. Where we they get oh God, what we got to do? Like, oh, if they can't even know what time of the day it is, we're kind of screwed, kind of moment. Very things, and then of course it opens. It closes as it opens in Trafalgar. They walk across thing, but probably Sandy did recently,
much like it is today. Abe and I were right there. Abe, that's exactly where we kept. So we said, Abe, we are right at Trafalgar, at the statue of Nelson, and we went around in
just to
circles
the
for
left.
a bit.
So, yeah.
And we found Abe. Pretty much right there is where we found Abe. So, yep, we were there. And it is pretty much the way it looks, the way it looks in the film.
Yeah.
As does the
as many pigeons, as so many pigeons.
As many pigeons, as does the Admiralty building, which is currently under renovation. And amazingly, I love what I've seen in Europe, at least, when historic buildings are under construction, they put the scaffolding up, but then they put a sheet over it to make it look like the building. So from a distance, it's funny because from a distance, the Admiralty just looked like it does. And then as you got closer, you realized it was covered in scaffolding and a big cloth that looked like the Admiralty. So I was like, that's very, very nice. It looked really cool, but just like it is in this film, all these, 64 years later. 65 years later. Pretty amazing. Can I put my notes up? Because I do want to talk a little bit about the author before we start, giving our opinions and then getting into the numbers. I want to talk about the author because again, the beauty of the Wheel of Film, I think we'll be surprised to know that the author is C.S. Forster, who is a British historian, naval historian, who then moved to the United States and continued his work. He is the writer of the Hornblower series, as well as he wrote The African Queen, which I think is on the wheel as well. So this is just one of many historically based books, but he went on to write proper histories as well. And in researching this book and this film, I think I pulled like 15 different accounts from the United States Naval Academy instructional material, as well as the United States Navy Memorial and Navy.mil website. There's a whole bibliography on the battle, on the sinking of the Bismarck. So this is obviously studied very closely by military institutions around the world. This is starring Kenneth Moore, as we mentioned, and Dana Wynter with a Y. And it was released in 1960, but filmed in black and white, as we mentioned earlier. I think, as we mentioned, it gives the feel of being one of those wartime films. And James, you showed the poster earlier. It's one of those really great wartime movie posters. But this is a 1960s film. And there's a lot of debate in the, historical preservation community, I guess, if that's what we call us, around whether films in black and white should also be colorized and photos in black and white. So I am of the opinion that both should exist. And the reason why, so some purists believe that black and white films and black and white photos should always stay black and white because that's accurately portrays how the images were captured, but it does not accurately portray the images, because I think we get somehow filtered and clouded into thinking that the world was in black and white back then, right? And there is a value to colorization of some of these films. So the surprise here was obviously color film was invented in the 1940s, so they could have made a color film. Heck, Gone with the Wind is in color. The Wizard of Oz is in color.
The Time Machine was in color, which was the same year.
The Time Machine was in color.
It'd be weird though, wouldn't it? Sorry to break it in there, like watching to seeing a Buster Keaton in color.
Exactly.
Like so like Lauren Hardy, like that's going to be a bit weird because you've got what you remember now. Historical, like I know what they did. Like you get like the Civil War in color. You get the World War II in color,
Mhm.
don't you? Kind of documentaries, and they kind of give it a bit more a ghost grittiness and feeling, especially when you see like
It connects you
like
more.
especially like there's one World War One when they do it where the trenches go in color and you can see
the
the blood.
1917.
You can you can see the blood and you're like, oh, that's where it might differ. I suppose it depends what you're portraying.
It
I suppose
does.
like Buster Keaton, does it like the general? Does that need to be done in color? Probably not. But then seeing a First World War like in color where you can actually see the mud and the blood, but in black and white, they just look the same. It gives it a bit
feels
more,
very
you know, like
connected.
like All Quiet on the Western Front, the original 1930s version. Yeah, maybe. Like, yeah, it depends. I think you need to what historical reference is going to do, but I agree. Why don't have both? Just do both. It's your choice then.
Jay,
Yeah,
what do you
can do
think
it,
when
can
you
do it.
see a film, when you see a black and white film from particularly whether it's a war or anything related to history, do you feel disconnected?
Honestly, no. I have no issue with black and white. It's not a style in which I've seen a lot of films. I think some of the first ones I've really seen have been doing Film Club here, but in general, I've got no real issue with it. But I also agree, you know, why not do both? I don't see the issue with, you know, not to be kind of riding the fence on the topic, but I don't have an
Yeah.
issue with, you know, doing it either way. That way, like Stacey said, you know, go for whichever one you want. You want it in color, feel free. You want it in black and white, you got the original type of thing.
And
Yeah,
that's
To me,
that's
it's
the way I
almost like
feel.
remastered video games to
Yeah.
me. You know, same thing. You want to play the original, play that. You want to play a remaster of it, you know, you've got that opportunity as well. So
Yeah,
I'm kind of fine either way.
Yeah, if it doesn't change the movie, why not?
Mhm.
If it doesn't change what the director originally and the
Right.
screenwriter wanted to portray, that's it. If they're, but then you got modern. I can't remember what. There are some modern ones that you get in black and white, don't you? I'm trying to think of.
Yeah, The Lighthouse is one of the more
Yeah,
recent
you go.
ones I
Yes,
had watched.
yes, there you go.
Sin City, like some of
Yeah,
those
Sin City.
Yeah,
noir
absolutely.
kind of.
Yeah, so there
And
are
sometimes
reasons
it really adds
do it.
to it. I think both of those movies, Sin City and The Lighthouse, really benefit from being black and white. So you know, I'm like I said, I'm fine either way. I think basically what you just said, Stasis, the idea of as long as you keep it preserved in terms of what it originally was, which is again, I would say the same thing about remastered video games. As long as you're not changing them or adding things or taking things out, whether it be movie scenes or stuff like that. I mean, yeah, as long as it's preserved in what it naturally was or originally was, and just maybe colorize it or not, I have no issue with that.
Yeah, well,
That's
you
how I
got to think as
feel.
well. Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
You got to
No, go
think
ahead.
about. You got to think about if the director had the chance to do it in color, they would have probably done it in color. That's what you got to think of. Like there was, say, like Sin City and The Lighthouse. They chose the black and white. They
It was a
chose.
choice.
They were like there was a choice they made. Back then, you haven't got a choice. So if they went color black and white, this was different because they went black and white. There was a reason why they did it. They chose. So I wonder, you know, you can't, of course, unfortunately, I'm guessing 99.9% of the people who did black and white movies are now dead, unfortunately. So we can't ask them. But I'm guessing if they had the choice, if they like, okay, here we go. Jay, I'm not having a go at you. Because I mean, younger people,
but I am about to have a go at you.
I'm gonna have a go at you.
You youngins.
You youngins. I mean, there is a lot of people young. I mean, in their like early 20s. And I always say my girlfriend's niece. She won't watch black and white.
Yeah, I think there's definitely
because
a
it's
lot
black and
more
white, and you get that, and you go color. They might open up your audience more because it's in color. If it looks good, you can get that, you know, you can recreate that high definition slightly into it. Of course, you won't get it 100%. If it brings your like people to the audience, like movies we're recommending here, great, do it. If you can get people watching some different content that is either not Netflix, it'd be bloody hell, great. That is like, I'm all for it. Yeah, it's if it can open up people's, you know, movie knowledge. The best thing, and I think this is what a great thing, Film Club and our geekiness or nerdist of films and TV show, it opens up your mind. it opens up you as an individual. No, you don't need to know everything about your the political landscape is now or in the past, but movies can give you a lot of insight of who you are and what you are going to be and what drives you. There are I'm guessing a lot of people, maybe Sandy's one of them, their choice of job role was because of movies. Definitely mine, Royal Air Force. Yes, it's going to be. So yeah, you got that. It's like you get inspired, you get creative, you want to do better, you want to see that that the hero journey, you want to be that. Yeah, it's it can all come from movies. The fantasy, the amazement of watching a movie can make you be inspired to write the next movie, to be a novelist, to give you the direction path of being whatever you want to be. It can do that. If that broadens the horizon, making it in color, that's it. That was a good little rant about black and white movies to color.
But Jay, to your point about video games being remastered, it's and we could also make the same argument about comic books and graphic novels, right? For some kids, getting them to read had to go through a path of graphic novels or comic books. My nephew right now is 7 and he's reading Dogman, these graphic novels.
They're actually doing a movie on that. I just saw, by the way.
So
I saw the trailer when I went to see Sonic 3.
I'm so glad he's reading anything. And my youngest daughter, she started with graphic novels as well. I'm just thrilled that they're readers, right? And that's how I'm so glad. For me, I believe both should exist. I think preserving the art is important. So, years ago when there was this whole kick of colorizing everything, I was like, no. But I'd encourage everyone to look up this song by what I call my house band, a local band from Richmond, Virginia called Carbon Leaf, and they are fantastic. They do kind of a bluegrassy. They're local. They're not big league, but they're awesome. And they have a song called "The War Was in Color." And one of the kind of the main refrain goes, "Where to begin? Let's start with the end. This black and white photo doesn't capture my skin. From the sound of a gun to a soldier who's done. Trust me, grandson, the war was in color." And it's a story of a grandson who finds a box of old photos that are black and white, obviously. And he says, "Hey, granddad, what's this? And what's this?" And, the grandfather is trying to convey to the son what he can't do through these photos. And each phrase talks about the smells, the sounds, the feeling, putting a gas mask on, running through bodies and dropping a canvas bag over the side of a ship with your friend in it. It's a incredibly touching song. I won't say any more because it has a really great ending. But I really encourage everybody to look up that song and the lyrics, because that, for me, captures why it is important to have historical movies as best we can restored in color, because I think it's that connection. To your point, Stasis, the color of blood and skin, and it makes it real for people who future wars will be fought differently. Maybe hopefully they'll be fought with drones. Hopefully there won't be war. What our grandparents and great grandparents went through, none of us can even imagine. So that's part of my commitment to history, is to make sure that their stories continue to be told. So yes, now I've gone off on my little rant here about this film.
But it's like when people say, it's going completely different, radio or some old LPs or old that old
all of it
BBC. Like, people don't mind when you put them on digital, they're available. So yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Like they can be. Why? Because you're preserving it. So if you preserve it, if it's in color, black and white, yeah, I don't have a problem. Like that.
Well, you know what I got my oldest daughter for Christmas was a turntable. She wanted a turntable. Yeah. We've got boxes in the basement of my father-in-law's old LPs, and we're gonna play them because we haven't had a turntable in, I don't know, 20 years in this house.
Oh my God.
And now we do. And so we
I
can
just
pull out
remember
vinyl.
I just remember my stepdad had a Lady Electroland, the Jimi Hendrix one. What got banned? I got banned because it was nude. Remember, like the nude one. So it was like a triple LP. Kind of like you opened it up and it was all the nude women inside.
Oh my God, no!
But it had it with the
I didn't know
sleeve.
that one.
It was banned in America for it because he lived over here, didn't he? So it was produced over here. Then they banned it because you opened it up and it was just naked women.
Oh, wow!
Like with Jimi Hendrix, and he's banned. Yeah, and then but yeah, he had it, but he had it with the sleeve still, the actual plastic sleeve it came on and the attachment, and he got it. Yeah, but yeah, so. That was that's worth a little bit, I'm guessing, because it has one, just because it has the sleeve, and he actually never played it because he got the then when he lived in New York, he bought the LP, the cheap version, to play. That's it.
So that you could have one to actually, like, you know, the baseball cards that you can touch and the baseball cards that you can't touch, that you're not allowed.
Just like some comics I have.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
You don't
That's how collecting goes.
Yeah. You can open up the page like that.
It's funny because even to this day, I still, like, if there's something I want to get that's new that I want to collect, I will buy oftentimes two. One that's going to stay packaged and sealed, and one that I'm going to open up and display. I do it all the time.
I have really, this is really bad. My girlfriend has to go at me. So I bought these two. They're just like 2000 a days. There's Anderson and I've got Judge Dredd, but in their like Law Masters. And I've got them over there, and these were to open, and I just can't do it. I bought extras just to open, and I'm really that geeky. I'm like, I just can't do it to myself. And even like somebody bought me this, and it's quite cute. It was over Christmas, and it's just something silly, like a 3D, like it's a like pen holder like that. Mm-hmm. It's a 3D puzzle. And then my girlfriend, I bet you're not going to open it, are you? And I was like, no, this one I will open. She was like, I bet you're not going to open it. It's like that, because it took me ages to open up some bubble gum, like Star Wars bubble gum. She was like, you've had them for like years. So I was like, okay, I'll open it. But yeah, I'm really bad of like. She was
like, "Eat the bubble gum, though." That's the question.
Yes, I did. Yeah, it was disgusting.
It sounds it. A couple of years old, sounds it.
Yeah, no, chewy. Yeah, I am one of those. I get stuff, and even when I was younger, I squirrel it away. It's like I'm hiding. Yeah, I'm hiding my nuts for winter. Let's say that. So, I do with comics and everything like that. So it's really bad. But like I always do that now. Like you say, like, oh, I'm gonna get duplicates. One I can read, one that's packaged the way. So yeah, I'm
you have to do that though. You know,
that is nerds. That is geeks.
That is.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah,
it is. That's what we do. I have my Battlestar Galactica here and my Battlestar Galactica in the box.
Yeah. That's why I'm glad I don't do cards. Was it Pokemon? What's it? What's it called?
Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, Magic the Gathering. Yeah, all that. Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. That would open up a terrible thing, because some of them are worth more because of the year they were made in, unopened.
The set that they're sealed, that you don't know exactly what's in it. I've dabbled to this day. I'll kind of dabble in and out of Pokemon because I've said before, I grew up right in the smack dab of the Pokemon era, at like the perfect age and target age group for it. So every so often, when it picks up a little bit of hype, I'll kind of get back into it, buy a few packs, a box set, this, that, the other thing. I actually got a few binders of some of the more recent ones from their like 20th anniversary that went off a few years ago.
I feel.
Card opening things, streams are pretty do pretty good numbers.
Big,
they really are, Jay.
And I specifically had one elite box that has like, I don't know, 20 packs of cards in it, that from a set from like 3 or 4 years ago that I was holding on to. And not that long ago, I just got the biggest urge, and I opened them all up and didn't get the great pull that you wanted out of it. Fortunately, it wasn't worth that much sealed anyways, but who knows? 20 years from now, I might be kicking myself.
I can't remember how old we were. Like one of my mates is, let's say, his parents give him what he wants, let's say that, money-wise and anything. But we were like in the 90s, we went to the Forbidden Planet in London when it used to be good. when it used to be just like
Abe and I were there too. Abe and I were there too.
Yeah. But now it's just Marvel and DC. It's rubbish.
It is.
Like that. Yeah.
And anime.
This is when
anime.
But like my mate kind of got swindled. He got swindled. He got in a good way now of buying the first deluxe pack box set of Magical the Gathering.
Oh, goodness.
And it cost him like 200 quid. And he was young. And we were like, maybe we like us, his mates didn't play it. And he was like, oh, go on, play it. I'll open it up if you play it. Like, we were like, no, what is Magic the Gathering? But he had the first ever set. And now it is worth a ton of money because he's never opened
good for him.
It's literally, so he's got it. And he's like, what do I do? I went like, you just need to find somebody who wants to buy the first ever deluxe pack. And I went, that's got
which isn't hard to find.
And I was like, it's got the cellophane over it. It's still got like he's never opened it. I was like, wow, like you've got to do that. That there's gonna be you just gotta get three people bidding war.
You're gonna get put that on eBay. eBay, you'll find it's not hard to find buyers.
Yeah, because it was something stupid like in these one there is he might not be in, but there's a banned card that you can't have anymore because it just kills everything or whatever it is. It's just like the most powerful. So it's I'd be like, sell it, just sell it. It's in your closet, sell it, just get rid of it. And it's like that. So, but sorry, Sandy. Back to the
this is good.
We always get some rant. We started with Sync the Bismarck. We ended up on Pokemon and Magic the Gathering. There's always some way we tail off here.
That's why we're nerds, and that's why we're cool, because we like the things we like, and we all like different things, but we all come together because we're passionate about all of our different things. We don't all like Batman, we don't all like Star Wars, and we don't all like Battlestar Galactica, but the three of us appreciate.
I like them all.
I know. But we can all appreciate each other. So this film was made on a $1.3 million budget back in 1959, 1960, which was actually a big budget. And the reason it was a big budget was the combination. Yes, it did use real live footage, but it also did use models. We're going to talk about that. Hold on to that thought in just 1 second. It did make money. It more than doubled its take. It took about $3 million. That would be $32 million today. So a very modest film, but it made money. It got no award nominations. It got one Directors Guild of America, I believe it's called, for the director nomination, but did not win.
Some random obscure European ones, but
but no BAFTAs, no Oscars. It is generally praised for the direction, cinematography, and the realism. And you notice I don't say historical accuracy, but realism versus historical accuracies. There are notable historic inaccuracies, but I think, as we've discussed, they can certainly be forgiven for two reasons. One, as Stasis shared, the actual operations were classified far after the film was finished. And secondly, because it did want to tell the human story, the story of Shepard, his son, and Anne. Those are the human stories. And, that made for a super enjoyable film. Now, I said for a minute I wanted to go back to why this budget cost quite a bit for the modeling that was used. James, do you know where this was filmed?
No.
It was filmed on location, obviously, but the models of the ships that were used for some of the shots were filmed in the same Pinewood studio where the models for Star Wars were filmed. And so now I'm going to take a step back.
Do I need to get the photo up? Do you want me to bring up that photo?
Not quite yet.
Not yet.
But I want to step back for a minute, and I don't want to like make anybody's eyes roll, because I am a historian and this is historically accurate, but how much of this film influenced George Lucas, and how much of this part of we know that he loved a good dogfight, right? We know that World War II dogfight films inspired, the TIE fighters and the X-Wing fighters and a lot of the things. So I don't know why, but I found so much Star Wars in this film, and I find so much of this film in Star Wars. Everything from the idea of the Bismarck being comparable to the Death Star to Luchans being our Grand Moff Tarkin. I mean, essentially saying, I think you overestimate our enemies. You know, the word abandoned ship. We're, you know, when they come in and say, look, they've gotten through our defenses, you know, your shuttle is ready for evacuation. And he's indignant and says, you know, I think you overestimate their chances. That you know, that came across to me. And then, yeah, if you'll put the ship, the photo up, the design of the Imperial cruiser, take a look at that profile.
Yeah.
And, you know, okay, this is you know, a space, a super space age design that doesn't really have to follow the rules of physics. But you've essentially got a radar on, you know, a radar thing on the top of this Imperial cruiser, and you know, and the profile is incredibly the same. And I think if you're in the Navy, in the Atlantic, or let me say this, if you're on a merchant ship a merchant ship on the Atlantic, and you're peering through your binoculars, the worst thing you could possibly see is that ship on the left, which actually is not the Bismarck. This is the USS Iowa, which is larger than the Bismarck, actually. And the only one that I could get that crisp, copyright-free photo from the Library of Congress for this comparison. But that would be the worst thing in the world to see through your binoculars. And perhaps the feeling that George Lucas was looking for with the design of the Imperial cruisers was that absolute terror. And you're going to have, you know, people in the 1970s watching the Star Wars films on the big screen, which sadly I couldn't do. I wasn't around. I don't think any of us saw Star Wars on the big screen, right? We couldn't have. But I think there were people in the audience who were possibly veterans of world wars and would have seen all of this in Star Wars, would have felt like there's a 1 in a million shot to destroy the Death Star, and there was a 1 in a million shot to blow up the Bismarck. And they you know, they got it, not all in one kaboom. That was the hood. But we know George Lucas was influenced by World War II and other, you know, and Westerns and other things. So James and Jay, did you see any Star Wars?
I did actually. It's funny you mention it because that's that scene where the one shot, you know, damages the rudders and basically, you know, kind of sets the fate of the Bismarck. That to me, immediately I was like, oh, it's kind of like, you know, the Death Star shot. And I didn't even realize that George Lucas had that much influence from these movies, to be honest with you. So it's not surprising now that that did come to my mind.
For me, no.
You're the expert, James. I was going to say, James, you are the expert on Star Wars.
I just didn't see it. No, I must say, like, when you actually give the comparisons to it, I'm like, huh, yeah, look. So that kind of makes me want to go back and watch it, like, like that. But yeah, it's yeah. At the time, no, it's probably because I saw it when, like, before, probably, you know, I was heavily into Star Wars, like, it has been like that. But yeah, yeah, sorry.
That's why you saw it before you were into Star Wars, and probably because you're so into Star Wars, into the very, very details that you can see where they're different. They're clearly not, but you know, it really was the arrogance of Luchans that I had Grand Moff Tarkin in my head the entire time. You know, when
I didn't catch that one, but now that you pointed out, I see it. I only caught I only caught the shot that, you know, ruined the rudders, but now that you mention that, I can see that too.
So I did a little internet research to see if specifically this was, you know, is known to be an influence with George Lucas, and the only reference that I got was that they were filmed in the same studio, which is pretty
Interesting.
cool. That's just a really cool thing, is that the the modeling was done in the same studio that eventually was the genesis of ILM. It's where ILM, the idea, was born, and how, and really, I guess we have to give credit to a number of war films that had more, what do we call it? Primitive modeling, really bad, quote, special effects in some war films that, you would look back on and say, oh, that's terrible. But that's how, we evolved to the kind of special effects that were good. I won't say our special effects today, because I think our special effects today have gone way too far, and it's too much CGI versus good old special effects using modeling and modeling and magic, essentially. But yeah, I'll have to watch Star Wars again now and see how much more I can see in World War II references, because initially, obviously, the Third Reich is, stormtroopers and stormtroopers. That's easy to see. And the dogfighting is really easy to see.
It isn't now, with the diversity now the far right has got.
Don't even get me started. I'm talking about real Star Wars. Star Wars.
Brilliant. But so, as I put it on, I'm gonna go alternative. I'm gonna go to Jay first about the movie.
So for me, this one was, for some reason, just felt a little bit more dated than, say, The Time Machine. I did enjoy the movie. I didn't think it was bad. I didn't think it was great. I put it probably around just smack dab in the middle of a 5. It was probably more interesting to me in terms of learning about the story of the Bismarck and how this all kind of played out. It felt probably a bit more and kind of played a bit more like an old war documentary than a movie, if that makes sense. So it just kind of moved a little bit slow for my taste. But again, I didn't think it was bad, didn't think it was good. I think it was somewhere, not that it wasn't good, just not great or anything. It was kind of just smack dab in the middle of a 5, a solid watch, one that I would recommend, especially for anybody who's a history buff. But is it one that I can definitely say I'd, watch again? Probably not, but it was good to watch because I learned a lot about it. Learned a lot about that event, how it all played out. And, even especially to do it for Film Club, it was really fun to hear you guys talk about all the history of it, given that you're both history buffs. So from that aspect of it, I had a lot of fun with this one. Is it one that I think I could recommend to, everybody, that they'd be able to just kind of pick it up and watch it? Probably not. Kind of like what Stasis alluded to earlier with, I think it was, you said maybe Jade's niece. I think a lot of younger audience would probably have a tough time with this one if they're not really that into the black and whites or the old war movies. But again, somebody who is, like if I knew somebody who, is a history buff or just really, really likes this style of movie, it's one that I would definitely say, oh, you got to check this one out. This was a pretty interesting watch. So, so that's about where I have this one.
Cool. That is fair. I think my girlfriend said probably near enough carbon copy exactly what you said there. So that, it's fair. Sandy, history versus movie, I'm guessing, for you.
Yeah, I'll give it my 2 scores. And again, I really enjoyed reading the book. It's actually a very quick read, even though it goes into a lot more detail, and the writer does take care to share like where there are differences. And by the way, the book also has maps, which is great, because there are as we move forward in time, and we're looking at how much fuel the ships have and how far away they are, those circles get greater, or those circles kind of converge, and having the maps was incredibly helpful. So I really enjoyed the book, and as I mentioned, all the other directions that it took the research in. So let's give a score for historical accuracy. I give it a C+, because it's not historic. Sometimes there's a film that's not historically accurate, but there's not much more that can be learned or gained from the pieces that were left out or changed, right? Here, I think there was more that could be learned or gained, But even though the information was classified, I still have to give it a C+ for historical accuracy / inaccuracy. I give the film itself a 6.5. That's a good score. I think both from the perspective of what the film was documenting and then adding in the personal story. I think there's definitely value there. I don't think it does any damage to the real life story to add those personal stories in. But also, I do like the artistic choices and the mix of the real footage and some of the modeled scenes. I like that because there was much more real footage that could have been used, but I think when you do too much of that, then it turns into a documentary and then it becomes a little bit dry. So a 6.5 for me, and a recommend for history buffs for sure. Not just for the event itself, but for the milestone that this is in history. And I'm sure there are naval historians that will disagree with me because they're much smarter than I am. But just for me and my knowledge of naval warfare, this is a turning point. The battleships, as I mentioned earlier, the battleships are now becoming not obsolete, but this is no longer the era of the battleship. Moving into, the war that's fought on sea is actually going to be fought in the air. And the age of the carriers is coming. And the glut of carriers over in the Pacific, as we'll see, will become the immediate target of Japan. Japan doesn't just have to disable the American fleet. Japan has to disable the carriers. That's what they're going after. They're not just floating fortresses, they're floating airports now. And what they bring is going to change the way that we conduct war from there forward. So from a historical perspective, it also marks that milestone change. And I thought it was quite well acted. Please forgive me. Sometimes my perception of British acting is a little stodgy. I don't think that's the case here. I think the actor, particularly that was portraying Shepard, that was the character. The character was to be a little kind of stodgy and aloof. It comes from that stage training where, you Brits have better actors than we do. I thought the acting was quite good. I thought the set and the scenery was good. I thought the story moved along at a pretty quick pace. This was not a long movie. It was a good film. So all in all, I definitely recommend this film. James, take us home.
Now this one, I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10 straight off the bat. Now this probably has got a little bit of heart for me because of being, watching it with grandparents. That's it. But this is probably like out of Kenneth Moore's movies, probably the weakest portrayal he does because he is very stern on it. Like there is so much, like he is very much a that World War II classic actor. He's either doing that or a spy movie. He's one of those British actors that does that. So yeah, I like this movie. I do. I think it's now I can agree with Jay. It's not for everyone if you didn't already watch it, and I mean that I can see it's quite hard. It's a hard watch because what am I seeing? It's not giving me a lot about the historical thing. What we've all agreed that would be great, and it's missing. A remake of this would be good, but I think it gives enough to the viewer to go, let's find out more about it. And I think we had that in a couple of, not just the black and white movies. There's other ones we've had is like, I want to have a look. I want to pick up a book. I want to actually. So for that, I recommend it. It's a recommend, especially for like a historical buff. I suppose if you're in Second World War, the Bismarck is going to be in there. There's other Bismarck ones. There's a very old movie from the German side as well. But I think this one is the better one to give it an all view angle, even though it's not historically correct. It doesn't make out to be in a way that some movies butcher the history. It gives enough to give us what actually happened, and then the softer side with the portrayal of the main characters. But does it harm the history? No, it doesn't. They just didn't know. So it's just, yeah, it's good for what it does. Yeah, I recommend it. I'm glad that we've got another black and white on the way. I'm wondering if we get 3 in a row though. So that's it. So yeah, so from that we had the North Atlantic. The next one is to North Africa with Casablanca. That it's good. We got a couple of World War II straight off the bat. So on that, we're gonna go 3 in a row? World War II classic black and white.
It's a big time for cinema. I mean, when you think about it, right? It's a really, really big time for cinema. It's a great subject matter. So there are quite a few films, on the list. So we shall see. I'm the wheel tells. But to say the wheel did its thing again with for my girlfriend's family. That's so cool.
Yeah,
that really is.
Yeah, I'd never seen him, and that was it. So that was good.
Wow.
So the wheel did its thing. We have to get a next Casablanca. That's it, North Africa. We'll have to see the connection there. There probably will be one. That's it. Jay, is it the first time again, Casablanca?
This will be the first time for Casablanca.
Casablanca. So yeah, Casablanca's next. So we're gonna go for I don't know what it could be. If it's black and white, it's gonna be 3 in a row. That'd be quite interesting. But what I really want to watch is kind of just a stupid action movie.
Or a stupid comedy,
just kind of like blazing guns or something like that. Just something a bit silly that you go.
We've been on a pretty heavy tone streak lately.
I watched. Was it the Meg 2? Like that one. I was just like, that's just silly, isn't it? But you enjoy it. It's just like absolutely silly.
Not as good as Sharknado, though. Let me tell you.
Oh my god. No, that's it. Did you ever want really bad Zombie Beaver? Abe agrees with me. Zombie Beaver.
God. I've heard of that one. Terrible. I think. Yeah.
Oh, it's literally hand puppets as beavers, but they're zombies.
Oh, seriously.
It's literally it's one of those B movies. You're like, oh, somebody gave them money to make this. It's like it's got to be a really low budget, but it's got to be like at least like 200,000. And you're like, how did somebody give money to this? It's like, why? Why did they do that? Yeah, it's
that's funny.
But are we ready?
Oh, are we ready? We are ready.
Oh, we are ready. So here we go, people. As always, countdown. 5, 4, 3,
Question
2.
Tiger.
I watched that the other day. So
you should watch it every day. It's magnificent. It's a masterpiece.
1. Let's go. Okay.
Critters.
Oh, goodness gracious. Was
you
that
couldn't
on
get
our
anything. Yes,
Critters.
I put it on there. Critters. There we go. A silly, stupid, great was a B movie.
We did.
I did
silly.
There we go. A silly little move. That I like Critters though. Critters is great. Oh my god, this is one of mine. It must be one of mine. You can't beat Critters.
It is one of yours for sure. Yeah, it's you.
There you go. Sorry.
I have not seen Critters. I was thinking of Tremors for a second. So I have not seen Critters.
Oh my god.
It is silly. It's
sci-fi. It's silly.
It's sci-fi silly.
It's sci-fi silly. They made around about, oh my god. Somebody look up. They must have made around about 6, 7 movies out of this.
Yeah, there's Critters too. There's many Critters.
Yeah, so there's Critters in space.
Oh yeah, there's a lot.
There's a lot. So this,
one of them got a 3.7 on IMDb. Critters Attack. Oh, that was 2019. That wasn't all that long ago.
Oh my god,
Critters Attack. I didn't even know that was one of them.
Yeah, 2019. Critters Attack got a 3.7.
That they just milked it. They literally, somebody went, "Oh, got a good idea," but it's easy. Literally, you got furry critters from outer space that are hungry, let's say. That's it. And I always say for people, if you want to have a really bad, the Critters 2 is so literally laughable, funny. It's literally that bad. It's so great.
So
it's one
bad
of those
it's
ones.
good.
Yeah, exactly. But this one is that it is a very. It's actually quite good. It's when they kind of went to do, what's the what they called, Gremlins. This
Yeah.
Yeah, like kind
It
of
was
that.
not too long after that. Yep.
Yeah, they went let's kind of take the Mickey. So it's a very funny. You can't take it seriously. It will make you laugh. I don't think even they tried to make it a true horror. It just isn't. But it's UFOs, an alien race that have come out, escaped their captivity, like I said, from a prison ship, in the middle of course, nowhere in America, nowhere town, nowhere, middle America, I suppose you want to call it that, a farm place, and then
but they're like Sonic the Hedgehog. Yeah. So they're also like Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah. This is interesting.
Yeah, I won't say anymore, Jay.
They're not seeing it, you will laugh.
This is a very interesting description so far.
Yeah, you will come back and go, what did I watch? What was that? And it's one of those ones you'd be like, what did I watch? And I want to watch it again because it's so silly. I have not watched it for a while, but I mean,
was that 80s or 90s? That had to be 80s.
It's got to be 88, 89,
86.
86. Okay.
It was in that, goofball comedy, know, and again, ripping off Gremlins was before this. So ripping off Gremlins. What was it? Gremlins, Critters. There was a couple of them that were around that time.
Yeah. But this is see, the wheel gives us weird. That's it. I like it because we've all got some random ones on there. But yeah, this is
Ghoulies. There was Ghoulies, Goonies, Critters, Gremlins, like all around the same time. Yeah, Galadorn is right.
Yeah, but yeah, so yeah, it's going to be for you. It's going to be a very interesting one.
Yeah, I'm going to see if the wife wants to sit down and watch this one with me.
It will be, because it's not scary. It is kind of like is a very slapstick, very funny.
But let's see how cheesy the effects look now. Like, I haven't seen this film in at least 15, 20 years. So
I don't think they were good at the time, were they?
They weren't good back then. Exactly. They were terrible back then. How are they going to look now?
But it was a hit. This is the thing. It's not like one it was a hit.
Interesting.
Yeah, people wanted to go to the movies back then. They wanted to go. They would, you would, back then, you would make plans with your friends to, quote, meet at the movies. You didn't know what film you were going to see. You just wanted to meet. And then there were so many to choose from. You had 6 or 7 to choose from. And you would just go every Friday or every Saturday. And today it's like, you have to really think about it because there's nothing else.
Well, you almost have to kind of get a movie that makes you want to go nowadays. Even me as a big, all of us really as big movie people. Yeah, just the other day I wanted to go. I was like, asked my wife, I'm like, hey, you want to go see a movie? It was I think we had just gone and seen Sonic 3, the week prior. And I was kind of looking at the list. I'm like, we could go see Nosferatu because I know everybody's got some buzz around that one. There's a cool looking Bob Dylan movie that's out. Timothy Chalamet, I think, is Bob Dylan. But neither one of them really were like enough to pull me to want to go. And I do want to check out both of them. It's just like, I was kind of like, you know what? Am I really in the mood? Like, and then I ended up just doing a stream instead. I'm like, you know what? I could just stream and do that. So I ended up just doing a stream, and because it's like, you just, I don't know. Now you kind of got to have something that really pulls you to the movies these days.
You could show up at a theater that had 6 or 7 screens, and you might have to wait a half an hour for but you had your pick. You didn't have to do all the research. You could just get up and say, yeah, I'm going to the movies tonight. You just go. And where I lived when I was a kid, there were like 2 or 3 movie theaters I could walk to from my house, and they only had 2 screens, but you knew there was going to be something that you wanted to see. And I did get to see Empire Strikes Back on the big screen because they played it right before they reran it right before Phantom Menace. So I got to see the Star Wars films. I never did see Star Wars on a big screen, which just stinks. But I did get to see Empire because they ran all 3 before the release of Phantom Menace. And you could just go, and there was something to see for everyone. And now it's just again, but then we didn't have DVDs and on demand and all that, all that.
Well, this movie I think got bigger because of blockbusters and stuff like that. Like with the tagline, "They bite." It's like, what do you miss? But I think it's one that people went, "Did you watch?" Like, Dusk Till Dawn probably got bigger from DVD people going, "Oh my god, did you watch Dusk Till Dawn?" Like, what was that about? And then like, oh, I can't get, it's a gangster movie, but that's what I'm going to say. And then it got variety more around that. There's the movies that kind of, you missed it at the cinema. Oh, you should have gone, and like that. And people catch it a little bit late. But unfortunately, you don't get that kind of like, oh, I've got to wait.
Well, in the window was the date like of our local. We have Blockbuster, but we also had like a local Greg's Video in Baltimore. Shout out to Greg's. On the corner of, now, if anyone ever sees this from my neighborhood, it was the corner of Potomac and Hudson Street, I think, walking distance from my house. But on the window were the dates when movies were going to be available on VCR tape. And you would put your name in a waiting list. And, when they first came out, you could only have it for one night. And then after several weeks, you could have it for 2 nights. And, you would see, oh my gosh, whatever film it was, oh, we have 3 more weeks. We have to wait 3 more weeks for this film to come out on video. And, and then that was the place to be. That was just the place to hang out. Just wait for people to return their tapes.
Yeah, I do miss those days. I caught a bit of that as well, in the 90s, early 2000s, where, between video games and movies, it was all rentals. So you'd go to the local Blockbuster, the local kind of small brand stores. They would have, the employees would have their picks where they would kind of put their little, signs up to say, this was Dave's pick of the week. This was Emily's pick of the week, all that kind of stuff. And they'd recommend you movies, stuff like that. There was always a movie playing on the TV behind the register. And I miss those days.
Yeah, well, it is, because you used to go there and you were like, oh, I want to watch whatever.
Oh, that was the best.
And they've all sold out. And you're like, oh no. Yeah. And then you have to like, oh, what's next? And then you pick up your free DVDs and that was it. You're done for the weekend.
I used to try a bunch of new video games that way.
Yeah.
And that was the best thing. Like, me, my dad, and my brother driving home from, whatever we might have been doing that day. And my dad would always ask, hey, you guys want to stop at the video game store or the video store? And immediately me and my brother, like, not arguing so much as like the quick conversation of, well, what are we going to get? We played this last time. We got that, so that's just the stuff that
it's been exciting. You didn't know what you're going to get. It's like that.
We got a fighting game last time. Let's get a sports game, whatever it was. Like it would always be that quick, like let's figure it out. And then we get there and we take way too long because it's like a kid in a candy store type of thing. You got so many options, so many things. It was the good old days. Talk about nostalgia.
Well, then there was the back room.
Oh yeah, the room you couldn't even walk by as a kid.
They all had a back room.
With a curtain or a door.
I don't know what's in that back room.
Yep, it wasn't until I was a teenager till I figured out what was in the back room.
Always one sleazy guy comes out.
Why is that hiding his movies under his coat?
Yeah, why are they black and got no cover? What's that about?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yep.
But yeah, so well, at least they both begin with C. Casablanca Critters. That's the only
one, something that was more lighthearted.
That's the only relevant. If we find a connection to those two movies, I'd be very, very.
I'd be shocked.
We might. You never know.
That's your homework. Find a connection between Casablanca and Critters. That's it. But yeah, at least we're gonna have one kind of serious and then one literally have a laugh at. That's all I've got to say. It's gonna be fun. But yeah, guys, as it's the new year, what have you got coming up? Sandy, you've done your things. You're now back to Civil Wars. You went live today. I missed it again.
Oh my gosh!
Did I miss it again? Damn it!
Well, no, it's okay. I did it crazy early in the morning. Okay. When I finished my last, Yeah, when I finished my last embassy 2 weeks ago, I decided to go live, and I had so much fun just chatting with people from around the world, that I did one in the middle of the week, and then I did one this morning just because it was a beautiful sunrise. So Jay, I hope you were still in bed at sunrise. But yeah, now so I'm finishing up. I will compile all of those embassies into one video and get that out. But hopefully by tomorrow, I do have. Well, I'm working on 200 hours of video editing for different pieces of the Civil War project I'm working on. So hopefully tomorrow, if not next weekend, the stretch of battle that covers May 11th of 1864 between Cedar Creek, Virginia and Strasburg, Virginia. Yeah, I know this is exciting for everyone, right? Between Cedar Creek and Strasburg will be published. But that's what I do. I put my videos out in the hopes that anyone who is also doing research can find something that they can use, because I get to go to these sites, but many of the people that I work with and provide lectures for are people who can't travel to this area, whether they live far away or whether they're just unable to get out of their houses. So I've been fortunate to find things on other people's channels. So I just hope anyone who's interested in what I'm interested in can find something there. And also I learned that doing live streams really boosts the live hour view, whatever's that, I'm not a real YouTuber. So I looked at my year in review and I had something crazy like 15,000 views of videos.
Not bad.
How
do you do that? I was looking.
Which
I didn't even,
shocked me. If you go on your so it shows up on my phone in your dashboard, there's in the notification section.
Oh no, it didn't give me that. Yeah.
Give you your monthly. It says monthly, but it's really your yearly report. So the monthly report for December is really the annual. So I was just completely shocked. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. Just my history stuff. And thanks to everyone who has supported or popped in. Ben Dover has popped in, and Abe have popped into the live streams just to say hi, which is kind of fun. So I hope to be doing some more of those. That's it. That's me. Just boring history stuff.
That must be an American thing. I'm not getting it.
You don't get, so you don't get a notification?
The YouTube Studio app?
Yeah, I've got it now. I've got it open now.
Huh.
Do you have a bell at the top?
Yeah, I'm clicking on it and it's not giving me.
I usually get
details.
weekly recaps, monthly recaps. They send me a lot of them.
Yeah, they just give me weekly and it's not got that information.
I believe if you excuse me, if you look at the views, you should be able to sort it by month as well. I could be wrong though. I'd have to look at it.
It's weird.
Yeah, if you click on the views, you can
posting their annual. Yeah.
You can choose the month, so you should be able to see that as well. If you just click on the views section, and then you can do 7 days, last 28 days, 90. Pick a specific.
Yeah, I can go in the back end, and it would tell me like, in the year 67,000 views. That's it. Yeah, that's all it really gives me. Like, I can give you other information, but it's more monetization, so I don't want to say anything. So, but yeah. So yeah, 67,000 views. Well, nearly 68. Let's call it 68. 68,000 views.
Woohoo!
Nice.
That's fantastic.
That's it. But yeah, there you go. So
well, I see great things in both of your futures this year.
Yeah, likewise. And I just set to getting all of Sandy's notifications so that I don't miss the next one, because I don't know how I keep missing these. But
it's early. I do these things. I don't tell anyone. I'm just like, oh, here I'm at a cool place. So today I was in the Baltimore Inner Harbor, or actually in historic Canton, and the sunrise was just amazing. I was up there at 6 a.m. to return a library book to my hometown library. Actually, this book I was returning the last 9 days of Bismarck because it was not available anywhere else but my hometown library. So I dropped off the book and then I drove down by the water. We're really lucky that every other place around the water has been developed, apartments, condos, everybody wants waterfront property. But in Canton, the waterfront park was preserved so that the residents will always have a water view, which is awesome. So I drove down there, and the sunrise was just amazing. So I hopped out and did a live stream. It was like 25 degrees, so my fingers didn't last very long. So yeah, very impromptu stream. Oh, thanks, Abe. I appreciate that. I know they're just stupid, but yeah, they're fun for me.
But yeah, so Jay, you got Lord of the Rings game, and I kind of jumped in quick.
That looked like, good.
Is it good?
It is honestly a fun game. So I played that game when it first came out back in 2014, and I loved it. It basically mimics the combat system of the Batman game. So for me, obviously, I love that. But it sets it obviously in the world of Tolkien and Mordor and Lord of the Rings and all that. And it's just a good game. I've now been told, I wasn't aware of this because I am not somebody who's read the books, which I actually have ordered them, so I will be reading them. But
Lord of the Rings.
Yep, the Lord of the Rings books. I never read them. I've only watched the movies. And I've played these games, the Mordor games.
So I'm gonna stop. Are you starting off with the Hobbit and then doing Lord of the Rings, or just going Lord of the Rings?
I was starting with Fellowship. Do you recommend starting with the Hobbit? I know it's obviously
Hobbit first.
but in terms of reading.
Yeah, Hobbit. Yeah, Hobbit.
Well, Hobbit came in it's a 4-book set. So
it's
it came
quick
with the
read.
Hobbit and the other 3. So I'll start with Hobbit then.
Do Hobbit.
It's a quick read.
Then
Fair
you
enough.
might. Then, depending how deep you want to go, you might have to buy the Silmarillion.
Yeah, I do. I kind of want to do the whole thing.
Go.
Yeah, I want to do the whole thing. Our
buddy
Pete recommended that I do the Silmarillion as well. So
yeah,
I do
it's
want to
not
read
really
all
a
of
book,
it.
though. It's not a novel. Just the thing. It's more like a history of that's the easiest way. The things like that. It's more like, John was married to Elda, and they went into a battle, and then blah blah blah, and then the next in the time of such and such, and then they would go on more and more. It's like that. So it's very vague. It's not very. A novel as a novel would be, like a storytelling, like the Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings. Yeah, trilogy.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I do plan on reading all that. I've just weirdly this week, very randomly. It's actually not too random. I was doing a Batman stream the other day, and we were talking about favorite movies. Somebody had asked me, so I had mentioned Goodfellas and was talking about that. And Ben Dover actually chimed in by saying his favorite was the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and it just kind of put the bug in my ear of like, you know what? I haven't watched that probably yet this year. I typically watch through them, the extended cuts at least once a year, every year and a half. So like, you know what, let's start watching them. So I actually started with the animated one from 78 because I had never seen that one before, and it's on HBO Max. So I watched that one, enjoyed it, and then I'm like, all right, let's just go right into the extended cut. So I've been watching those all week. Yesterday, my wife actually sat down with me to watch extended cut of The Two Towers. Oh, and the day before, I had started, figured I'm on this Tolkien binge. I'm gonna stream Shadow of Mordor because I really like that game. So I've been having a good fun with that. And turns out yesterday was Tolkien's birthday. Go figure. So what a weird time, or a random kind of coincidence that the bug kind of got me now. But about that game, so it is a great game. It's good gameplay, and I like the story within it. But I did find out from a few people in chat that it makes a mess of Tolkien lore and Lord of the Rings lore. So unfortunately, it's not super accurate to it and kind of makes a mess out of it from what I understand. But in a vacuum, good game, fun to play. Good setting and all that. So even if you just ignore the story, fighting orcs and all that is still pretty fun.
Yeah, I've never understand how they've not done a Skyrim game of Lord of the Rings kind of
you
style.
think they would have?
Yeah,
and really dive into the landscapes and everything. Yeah,
I don't know if it's a licensing thing because I know, like in the past, it's been hard to get the license to work with Tolkien's work. I assume
but that's when Christopher probably was around.
Well, right, and that's what I heard. So now that Christopher, I believe he passed away, correct?
Yeah,
he's got. Yeah.
So I don't know if maybe now it's a little bit more easy to. You still have to pay an arm and a leg. Obviously, look at what Amazon just had to pay to get whatever rights to whatever they have. So I don't know if maybe it's a licensing thing or what, but you would have expected more. I mean, they used to do movie tie-in games for the Lord of the Rings movies, so I don't know. And they did these. WB was the ones who put out these. It was Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War or something was the sequel, or War of Mordor was the sequel. I can't remember. The sequel wasn't as good as the first.
They did
Gollum. And they did Gollum, that awful Gollum game. So
no, we
I don't know.
From our memories, didn't we?
It can't be that hard to get the rights to make a game for it. I mean, that studio did, and God bless them.
If you just
tried, I guess
but the thing is, like, you got Middle Earth is mapped out.
Yeah,
so
like
every
it lends itself to being a video game franchise.
If you could do that, and if you did it like, sorry, I'm going to base Skyrim, but if you could do it, that you could have your class, have your race, have your set,
make your
And then-
character the whole thing.
Yeah.
It'd be great.
And then carry on. And it
You could
doesn't
be a
have to
ranger, you could be a wizard, you
Yeah.
could be a
Your
dwarf, you could
primary
be an elf, you could be a
weapons,
hobbit
Yeah.
if you want.
Yeah.
I mean,
what's that one?
it
What's
lends
the one
itself
you?
to it.
Is it Elder's Ring? That
Elden
you
Ring.
Like,
Elden Ring
that's
is
it.
awesome.
Elden Ring. Yeah.
Kind of
Are you
like a
s-
mixture.
You could
of
do
that
something
and
like that.
Skyrim.
Yeah. Yeah,
that
100%.
would
gonna
make
do
sense.
Jay, are you going to do Elden Ring?
I do need to get back to it. I ended up playing a ton of it offline. So I think when I finally catch up to the DLC, I'll start streaming the DLC again.
It's,
You know,
it's
I was-
not a DLC. It's the new one, isn't it? It's not a DLC. It's a new.
So they
game,
did a
is it?
new
Yeah.
DLC
There's
this
two.
past year, and then they're
Okay.
also making a new game coming up
Yeah.
this next year,
Okay.
or within the next 2 years.
Yeah,
so the
so the Shadow
DLC
of the
kind of
Erd
restocked
Tree.
everybody this year.
Okay.
So once I finally, I started one stream on it and had a lot of fun playing it, but then I just like couldn't stream enough at the time, but also couldn't stop playing Elden Ring. So I progressed so far in the game off stream that like the part one would really be like jumping from part 1 to part 25. So when I finally kind of get to the
You gotta start
DLC, I'll
again.
probably just do a clean start at the Elden Ring Erd Tree DLC.
So I'll tell you. So I'm an Elden Ring nut. And when Robert was streaming, I was like coaching him, like literally coming on his stream and telling him where to go. We did like 10 streams
Yeah,
together.
those
and
are great. Those are a good watch.
I was sorry because my work prevented me from doing that
Mhm.
because he streams during the day. But so I will be backseating you in chat. But the great thing about Elden Ring for me is, and for a lot of people, because it's open world and there are multiple storylines, every time you play, it's going to be different. Even though the 5 main bosses are still the same, you're going to go a different path and the story can change so many ways. So, when Az streamed it, I think it was something crazy like 18 streams. I was playing along with him, doing his story, but as a different class. I think he was dexterity and I was strength on that one. But then I played as magic a different time. So anyway, just like other big open world games, there's many paths to go. But it's really cool when someone streams from the beginning because you can choose to either play along with them or play differently and make different choices. So yes, please start from the beginning. And and please do that because I think that'd be great. Elden Ring's a game. It doesn't age.
It's going to be one that I think gets talked about for years to come. It is a fantastic game. Fantastic.
Super high quality game.
I wish I had time. That's all I say.
It is a time investment. It's a long game. Even like there's the hour set of however many hours it takes to beat the game. Like, right, that's always set when these games are made. That's assuming you beat everything one time going through. Like the time investment, just because how many times a boss is going to just absolutely kick your teeth in and just make you try over and over and over again is insane. But the flip side of it is the second you beat that boss, there's no greater feeling like it in gaming.
Yeah.
It's
it
so
feels
rewarding.
So good. But then you could be like me. I've got 200 in my most recent run, 222 hours in the game. And I'm just exploring. I'm exploring everything. I've only taken on one boss because I just want to explore everything and gather all the minor, get rid of all the minor bosses and just see what I've missed the first multiple times I've played the game. So that's the other thing. You can just kind of wander around in this game. Now there's no building, it's not survival, but there's so much to it. And every time I watch someone else play, I think, how did I miss that? Like, as many hours as I have in the game, there are places that I haven't been in this huge, amazing map. And I've downloaded the DLC, The Shadow of the Erd Tree, but I haven't done it. And now this Rain of Fire or whatever, no, rain,
Night Rain,
frost, night, whatever, night rain. I don't know when I'll find time for that, but I'd be happy just wandering around the basic game for the rest.
Well,
forever.
it is multiplayer, so we may have to set up a stream of that at some point.
Yeah.
Have to figure that out.
We have plans, people. We have plans.
Are you going to stream tonight, Jay?
I don't know yet. A few of my buddies really wanted to play the new Call of Duty Squid Game collab that they have.
Ooh.
So if they're still down for that, I might just do some off-stream gaming with the buds.
Oh, okay.
But if not, excuse me. If not, I may actually fire up another Shadow of Mordor stream because I actually really, really loved getting back into that game. It's a super fun one. And then outside of that, more reviews, all that stuff coming. I do want to work on the what to expect in 2025 video as well, because I think that's going to be a good one.
I think that'll be good.
There we go, people. So yeah, give Sandy a little sub. That's it. So you catch her on live, and Jay, give you a little Jay, little big sub.
We got a Stasis gaming stream this week. The return of the sausage. We finally got him back on some gaming.
I know it's been a while. I just I got it on the done. Yeah, very well. Conan just jumped in there. Me and Viper have been a little bit busy.
That maze was brilliant. The best was there was this big maze that he and Viper had created, Sandy, and he was trying to take Galadorn through it. But about halfway through, he also forgot the route of the maze. So it was just brilliant.
That's when I tuned in. I was like
brilliant.
In a break, and I was like, oh, Stasis is streaming. Oh, he's in Conan. And I was disappointed. I was like, wait, I'm working. I can't, I would have jumped in the game too. Because, and Abe, forgive me, Abe built a great big bridge that I haven't visited yet.
Okay.
But I saw you trying to get him, and you kept going down, and you're like, down here, come on, where did you go? Where did you go?
I don't know if anybody can hear. I could hear him fighting, and I'm like, what is going on? But the thing is, it's how I built it is like, you know, ever seen the movie Cube?
No.
Okay, there's a horror movie called Cube, and they go into a cube, and then they have to take the right path. If they take the wrong path, something will kill you.
Oh,
I think Viper got the instructions wrong because he got admin right, so he kept on pointing.
Blaming you,
Viper
will
kill you. So that's it. So
no matter which way you go,
which way you go. So every time I jump, there's something there, and it's like that. But it's a reset button.
Funny.
So when you start the trial, but of course Galadon didn't read, and I said at the beginning, you've got to read the message. From the
he just went like right down the ladder.
And he just went. And I was like, no, you got to read it. So he just went. And the whole point is you've got to follow the serpent. The serpent is the real path. But he went completely a different way, then came back and then went a different way. I was trying to follow him. Then I got lost.
And you just always heard little sounds of Galadorn battling something in the distance.
Yeah, and I was like, what is going on? But lucky, it's quite hard. But then, you get a reward at the end. And he just, it was quite amusing, but it was kind of very frustrating to watch. And then, it was just like, I'm guessing it's like what we're doing, I don't know, like that. So it was a little bit of fun. It was a laugh. I do like Conan. I do. I really enjoy that
playing game. I want us all to get together again, like we have before. I mean, how much fun. And it's great that we can look back on Dan's streams and see some of the fun that we had, the big pyramid, and our big purges with the pyramid were a ton of fun. And your tree houses were hilarious when we kept falling out of the trees because it was rendering weird, and we had all the dead bodies. There were like 10 of your dead bodies around the bottom of the tree.
Dang. That was a good build. That was probably the hardest build I've ever done.
That was unreal.
That was amazing, going across 2 islands as well. That was good. But we got that. Did you Jay was there? Did you hear the story?
Oh, the story was brilliant too.
No, I missed. Was it
okay? What? I've done a story. Okay, so I've done it. I'm gonna probably put it as I wrote a story. It's the pork chop story. And I've done everybody's character so far. I've got up to Abe. Abe was the the pie instant. So everybody's in it so far. So I've got 5 chapters. They're kind of a Douglas Adams rip-off kind of thing, but in the world of Conan, and the hero is Greg.
Of course.
That's it. So we got the hero Greg in it. Laydart's in it. Clissy's in it. Dan, of course, Mr. Porkchop with his pet pig Cleopatra is in it. Just go back. I will write it, and I might have to put it as like into the Conan Discord somewhere.
So it's on the stream? You read it out on the stream?
No. I got an AI voice to do it. So you sit down, because I was like, whilst this is playing, I'm going to get myself a coffee, go to the toilet, do things, and I come back, and then we was on chapter 5. So in the stream, it's actually playing. It's Viper worked out how to get a box of music playing, but he couldn't work out how to get it to work, and I figured out how to get it to work that you can do anything. You can do anything. So I was like, I would just bored at work, and I was just like typing away and like, you know, dictating a story, and I just carried on, and I just got up to chapter
Smart
5,
people.
and I was just like, this is funny. So that was
Oh
it.
my
So yeah,
gosh.
It's well worth going to check out, Cindy. It was honestly
Yeah.
pretty
Oh,
funny.
I'm
Yeah,
definitely
so
gonna do that
yeah,
then.
yeah. So there's Ladar. She is the head of the potato people, and she
As she
has
should
lost,
be.
and she has lost her butter knife.
Oh
Let me
no.
just say that. So there
Again.
is funny bits, but yeah, I will go on to it. I think a lot of people who have listened to it said it's quite enjoying. They want to know what happens. So yeah, I'm just gonna do it. I have got the ending. That's the thing. I do know what the ending is. And yeah, it's very
Nice.
Douglas Adams humor. So if you like Douglas
Oh,
Adams,
nice.
and so yeah, it's yeah, that kind of little bit of like, what are you doing? But I thought it'd be funny to have Greg as the kind of the bumbling buffoon hero. So that's it. I don't think the best thing is Mr. Porkchop or Greg. I think the only two haven't heard it yet or read it yet. So
Agreed.
that's the best thing. So I'm waiting for them. But yeah, I will do it. But yeah, there's more to come. We've got some me and Viper has got some ideas, especially you saw the Gladiatorium
No.
in it. When he did the Purge.
Oh, that.
yeah.
Okay. Yes.
He's literally, he's built a gladiatorium, hasn't he? So literally, it was like, wow. So that's where that we've said he's done it, so anybody can put the chest down and fight from it. But it was just like, yeah, he's done some. So he's gone full geeky, figured out loads of stuff that nobody else has done on the admin side. And I was just like I made him build the witch out of Snow White. I was like, I did this marketplace with all different markets. I went, can we do Snow White, just the witch? And he was like, I did an apple. I was like, now can you turn it into? And he's like, yep. And he did it, and he did it near enough spot on. I was like,
oh gosh, I have to visit. I haven't been there. I haven't played in a month and a half.
Oh, there you go. But he's got a casino, he's got a tavern, he's got a racetrack, and he's got a fighting pit that looks like Thunderdome. And he's called it Thunderdome.
Is it all over by the islands where the original maze was, or where is it on the map?
Where his pyramid is. So where anybody help me out in in the desert. Yeah, in the desert.
In the desert. Okay.
In the desert, just on the border of the the
plains or whatever.
Forbidden City.
Oh, okay, over there.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So it's just on that, but right in the middle. But he did his pyramid. And then I was like, I've got an idea, because he just had a pyramid, and then I just went a bit crazy. And every time he turns up, he's like, oh, I know what you've done, and I've got an idea. And then so I build it, and then he just goes, let's make it look pretty. And then so I've got the ideas, and then he just goes for it. But some of the things he does, I go like that. But yeah, anybody who's into Codan, he did a great video, didn't he? On YouTube, find it. I can't remember anybody on Discord, on Mr. Porkchop's Discord. He did a video. A montage about the Goa'uld and the fighting, and it's just it's really good.
Oh,
like,
nice,
great editing. I was like, that's really good. So I told him he needs to do number 2 now. So like,
I want to do a good purge. So now, the pyramid then is where the purge is. Is that where?
No, the pyramid is where our base is. The purge area is north of it. So you go past.
But is it open? It's not inside like that first purge maze.
No. It's fully open. You just need to, when it purge starts, you open up one of the gates, and that's the only way they can come. You'll see it if you look at the stream. But yeah, but you go past Cleopatra's Needle, what has the cube in it. And if you want to do that, you win something at the end. You need to speak to Seer. He'll give you the task and the challenge.
No, I'm not doing
what he says. But yeah, it's quite hard.
If Galadorn couldn't follow you, there's no way I'm good. Galadorn and you are at a certain level that I'm not at.
Galadorn just kind of did a Leroy Jenkins. He just jumped right in there and started
running. Yeah. It's it's easy. You can do it. We tested it. You can do it at like level 60, I would say. Anything below that, you're gonna die. You're going to die.
See, I stopped playing. I missed when you guys did the purge with those great big golems that gave you the huge amount of XP. So I'm only at level.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm only at level 40. Like I think I'm only.
Well, we need to do the page, because we got it and we did. Abe was there. Galadorn, Maz, Else was there. There's loads, and we did like 5 or 6 Purge 10s in a row.
Aww.
And I went from like level 83 to like 107 in like half an hour.
Okay,
And
we got to plan this when I can join, but I'm going out of town for a couple of days, so yeah.
Go. This is where Abe's gonna go now.
I know.
Now. He's gonna go now.
I know. I have to pack. I have to fly out in this blizzard tomorrow. So
our weather's calmed down. I've had a family member fly in when it was really ridiculously windy. And I just went, that wasn't very nice. I was like, yeah, that's gonna be some landing in. But yeah. But anyway, from that, there we go. We didn't, unfortunately, not a 6-hour stream tonight, unless we get the Lord of the Rings. That might overtake 6 hours.
I was wondering, do we have that on the list?
Sandy put Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Okay, because I was looking at it on the list earlier, and I couldn't find any of them. But maybe because I wasn't looking for Lord of the Rings trilogy.
I think it starts with the. So I think it's
the question is, does that end up being the extended cuts or the theatrical cuts?
Yes, it's the it has to be extended cuts. I'm sorry, that is the only.
It has to be. Yeah, that is going to be.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah, that's either going to be a very long stream. I think somebody asked, are we doing it when we got to 6 hours? Were we doing a 24-hour stream? That's going to be long. That might have to be a couple of hours early. Let's say that, because that is a lot of background talking. That has to be
three extended cut movies. That's
that's a maybe long but then if we go into the books, that's going to be. God. I think especially if you just read them. Especially you'll be fresh reading them. I can't remember how many times.
That may have to be a three-part episode.
We'll have to do
that over 3 different episodes. Might have to be. The inaccuracy, the accuracy. Everything. The adore just being like a 2 hours on how we adore those movies. And why don't we get anything like that now?
So good. Watching it the past couple days. Oh man, it's just a reminder of how everything holds up. The effects between practical, digital, the miniature scales buildings that he does to try to to work in all these different. It's just the acting, the music, cinematography, everything about that movie is those movies are,
but all of them
perfection, and they just hold up. It's kind of crazy.
Do you know what's good about those 3 movies though? I always argue to myself which one I like more. I always swap.
It's always.
And I'm like, it's 2 towers. No, I like the. Oh no, I like first. And I literally.
For me, it's almost like the most recent one I've watched. I always make it that one, but this time around, I think I'm settling in on Fellowship being my favorite. I don't know what it is about it. Maybe it's just because it's the start of the journey. Something about it. I don't know. I do really just love Fellowship quite a bit, but they're all great. It's so hard to pick your favorite one. I mean,
I think we have to decide it's all one
Two
story.
Towers is great. It is. It is all just
one story divided into 3 parts. So really, it's one. Like you can't pick your favorite. It's like your kids.
It's hard to
pick your favorite. It has to be one story. They all have to be exactly the way that they are. I can't stop talking about the Godfather book. I was at work Thursday talking to one of our senior executives about who knows what, and somehow we got on to reading, and I said, hey, by the way, have you ever read The Godfather? And he said no, and I said, you should, because I just read it and it's just exceptional. And again, this is what the Wheel of Film brings. I absolutely love it.
Is Casablanca a book? Is that
no?
Must be. No, it's
really.
I thought it would have been.
Original screenplay.
Okay, I'm going to say, is Critters a book?
I hope not.
You know what? You never know. Hang on. Let's check.
No, it says no. It's a no. Maybe it was. Yeah, I'm guessing there's drama. Like there was some books after it.
No.
Like,
Yes.
That would have been
a nice little reading.
That would have been good. Yeah.
Well, the good thing about when we get Lord of the Rings trilogy is by then I should have read all the books, so I can actually participate in that side of the conversation as well.
Don't jinx it, Jay. It can come up next.
Right. No, quick read, everyone. That's it. That's going to be one of the easiest. Everybody just goes, we recommend.
It's going to be like Godfather. 9s across the board, if not better, and then recommend.
Is it but is it going to be a 9? Is it a 10? Is it a 9.5? Like
I am wondering if it'll get a little bit higher of a score.
Like we have what is a 10? If and maybe the whole world will agree or not. If Citizen Kane is a 10, what else is, or what else is a 9.5. And we really need, because we've been I think we've all been very careful with our ratings, like not overrating and not underrating, realizing the value that some films have. And even if you don't like them, I think, I love our ratings. I think we should map them all out on a chart. But when we get to Lord of the Rings, when we get to Citizen Kane, it's going to be, what is a 10? Because we've had The Godfather, and it's not a 10, but man, it's a 9.
I really hope if we do get Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings, we do get Peter Jackson's Brain Dead, and then we'll see the comparisons of how that guy got to be the director of Lord of the Rings.
I've never seen Brain Dead. You know what Peter Jackson film I've always liked is...
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
I've never seen it.
I don't think I've seen it.
It's Australian zombies, literally a parasite rat, I suppose is the only way I can explain it, and it's bizarre. But he did a movie before that is terrible. It's called Bad Taste. It is absolutely dreadful. But he did Bad Taste, I think Brain Dead, then Heavenly Creatures, and something else. I can't remember the other thing. And then he got
Lord of the Rings, huh?
And I'm like, when it got announced, I was like, oh, what have they done? And then, we got what we got. So thank God we got what we
brilliant,
got. Yeah. But literally, I was like, I like what he does, but he's not Lord of the Rings. But
No.
So
I honestly, I like his King Kong movie too. I've always liked it. I've always enjoyed that movie.
Oh, actually, I
Adrian
do too.
Brody and Jack Black. I've always liked that movie. It's definitely not the quality of his Lord of the Rings movies, but I have always enjoyed his King Kong.
I like it
better than anything we've gotten.
The only problem I have is too long. That is.
It is a bit long. It is. Yeah, it is a bit long.
That doesn't need to be an epic. It needs to be an hour 40. Max.
That's fair. It's definitely a bit long, but it's better to me than anything we've gotten out of this King Kong Godzilla universe from.
But again, like a great Andy Serkis, or Circus, however you want to pronounce it.
Oh, was he King Kong in that?
No, he's no, he's not. He's one of the baddies. He's one of the pirate guys.
Oh, geez, I don't even remember him being
by
in
a
that.
bug, doesn't he? He gets eaten by the bug. You know, the bug goes.
Oh, yes.
Oh, it's really God, what's going on?
I think at that point in time when I last watched, I wasn't totally familiar with Andy Serkis yet, because he was still most known, at least to me, as being Gollum. I thought he might have did the motion capture.
I was thinking Planet of the Apes when you said that.
Well, right, he does Caesar in Planet of the Apes as well. I would have assumed he had done the motion capture for Kong himself too.
No,
that's right. He is in that.
What's that?
Yeah, I like that movie. I've always liked that one. I totally forgot he was in that.
Yeah, but he's a great actor. The only good thing about Andor that I kind of like was his acting.
Is he in Andor?
Yeah, he plays the best part of it, and then you don't see him again because they were like, but that's it. But I must say, I've stacked some of my guns. I've still not watched any of Skeleton Crew. I just can't be bothered. I must say that. And you still didn't send me the screenshot where I look terribly bored.
Oh, that's right. I have that. I have to send that along. I totally forgot about that.
So you look distraught.
Just like it looks like it's painfully boring.
The soul coming out of me.
Yeah, like you can just see and you can tell the thought process is like, damn, this is what Star Wars is now, huh?
Yeah,
it's brutal.
It's hurtful. Anybody in Star Wars fan, it's hurtful. Like, is it what's the one they're just about a remake of Disney one? I can't remember, with The Rock, and it's set in the Pacific.
Jungle Cruise, that one?
No. Moana.
Oh,
Moana. You know, Moana's, I like the cartoon. I think it's a good, really good. You know, they got the crab, haven't they? You know, shiny. You know, the bit with the shine, like
I've never seen it.
Okay, well, they've got a crab, massive crab, and he's got like all like shiny things on his back, all like little things. They just did that in Skeleton Crew. They literally ripped it off, and they did exactly the same thing. And everybody was like, "Oh, you've got no idea. You just literally taken it off of Disney animated, and you whacked it into Star Wars." And that's how bad it was. I've seen some screenshots. I'm like,
lazy.
It is lazy. It's just the whole thing is just a rip-off. It's boring. It's subpar. And then you just get all the Disney shields, Disney defenders. It's amazing. Everybody who's a Star Wars fan should like it. And everybody's like, no. And then people go, it's boring. Yeah, but it's made for kids. And everybody's like, it still should be intelligent.
Still. Yeah, even more reason for it to be intelligent.
That's it. Yeah. So yeah, it's dumb. It's dumb. So I might binge watch it, but I'm gonna be hard to binge watch. I'm at the moment. I'm actually, guys. The one thing
Life's
I'm
too
enjoying at the
short.
moment
Don't do
is a BBC thing, SAS Rogue Heroes, not based on it. It's very loosely based, real events, but not the real people things. But it's really entertaining. So if you guys, it's season 2 at the moment. If you've not seen it, go on the BBC. Yeah, SAS Rogue Heroes. It's called, about the startup of the SAS. That's it. It's really entertaining. It's really, it's a Second World War movie. Yeah, as well, a series. Sorry, but really good. Really, really good. So I recommend that if you want to watch something on TV. There you go. And that's it. And it's got Jack O'Connell on it, so it's really good.
Who's he in? What else is he in?
I'm trying to think. What? Oh my.
I don't know his
name. What has he been in that you would know? So I'm just gonna he has yeah, let's have a quick look at his it's was it Unbroken? The
This Is England. Okay, I like that.
The Jennifer was it Unbroken was the American one about the Japanese war camp.
Real story too.
That. Yep. So he was the
that
main one.
Did was Angelina Jolie do that movie?
Yeah, she was
movie she directed or something?
Yes, first one. Yeah,
she financed it. She actually financed it too.
So I think that is probably his most known
and he
one.
Won the Rising Star Award, the BAFTA Rising Star Award for that portrayal.
He's great. Yeah, he's great.
He was only 24 when he did that. Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, he's in it. He plays a psychotic, drunk Irishman who's the head of major.
What other kind of Irishman do you have? Sorry. Sorry. I had to say it. You set me up.
That was a bit of a layup. That was a good, you know, how do you know?
Cancelled. But yeah, it's great. Yeah, it is good. It just shows like anybody who's met any special forces people, sometimes you need to be a bit tapped. Let's say that is the best word. This portrays it quite well. If like that, you need to be a bit run, shoot, hey, like that, and it's good. But yeah, it's fun. But yeah, have a look. It's a good one. If there's because not much on. Sandy will like this. Jay's probably never seen it. I started watching Deep Space Nine again.
I have not.
Oh, what?
Jay
is Deep
you
Space
don't know
Nine?
Who Captain Sisko is?
No. Well, I think is that Star Trek related or is it just entirely okay? Is it not?
It is Star Trek related. What?
It's Star Trek.
Okay, it is. All right. I've never.
It's in the same time period as Picard.
But I've heard of Sisko, and I've heard of like Gary before from Neurotic say that Sisko's his favorite captain or something.
He is the best captain.
So I'm like, I assumed it was all Star Trek, but I wasn't sure. I didn't know if maybe it was just like a different sci-fi thing.
Jay,
I've never known much about it.
You know Worf?
I think I would if I saw it. I know I've heard the
Michael
the
Dorn,
reference.
the security officer, the Klingon. He crosses over.
Have you seen that?
I've never watched any Star Trek whatsoever. I've never been a Star Trek.
Then I can't
person.
even describe.
Sorry. That I just got to do that. Get him out! Oh my god!
I wouldn't say I'm not a Star Trek person. I've just never given myself the chance to get into it.
Now, if I would, because you've never seen it, I would say
this is a project. Then
next gen. I would actually say Next Generation, then do originals. I think
I would say that too.
Yeah, because I think if you watch the original, the first 1 or 2 series are a bit ropey, then it gets better. But if you do Next Generation will get you into a rabbit hole because it's so,
even the first series of Next Generation is really creaky because like even the costumes are weird but by the second season they really get into it. I had only watched the old series on reruns because my mom was a huge Star Trek fan. Huge. She still is. And then we both loved the Next Generation. But then from there, Deep Space Nine, like I feel like the stories were so focused. I think the writing was more like tighter. I think the acting was better. I appreciate the Next Generation a whole heck of a lot. I love the stories it told, but I was a Deep Space Nine fan. Maybe it was just because that's when I was like in my early 20s, and that's when I was actually paying.
But I think they all found themselves because I even think the pilot part 1 and 2 of Deep Space is a bit weak. then
It's still
it grows into itself. But yeah, but I think if you go by, everybody goes, who's your favorite captain? Now, if I had to go by who I want as a captain, even though he's a commander at the start, is Sisko, because he's the best leader.
Yep.
That's it. And then, but you got better characters, like Picard is a better character. Like
Picard, I think, is a better teacher.
Yeah,
he's a better, he, tries to lead by example. Kirk is the more action man, but
Janeway
Sisko is the thinker. And Janeway is she's the hopeful because of the situation they're in. She has to be hopeful, and she has to keep this team together, and she's constantly dealing with people issues. And I don't mind Janeway. I didn't get into Enterprise at all. I just didn't watch much. I didn't. So I've heard that character was pretty good, but I don't know.
Enterprise is so it was done by a different production company, so it was very hard to watch season 1. But once you get to it and then you realize what they were trying to do, it's really good in the later seasons. But then it got cancelled, so it was kind of like, they need to finish it off. But that's it. But then at least they cancelled. They have now officially decanonized
Discovery.
STD. Yeah, Discovery.
Yes,
that is the worst. They've now put it in an alternate universe that things, and I'm guessing they're going to have to. Then, if they've done that, they'll have to do that with that new. What's it called? New World? Was it called something that I can't remember?
I don't know. The cartoony one, the Below Decks.
Well, Below Decks is the cartoon one. I think I said that Doctor Schiff, the Doctor. I'm watching. I can't remember his name. Dr. Bashir and the Cardassian in that are gay. Because you can't have male friends. So it's idiots. Strange New Worlds. That's it. Thank you, Abe. Yeah. So yeah.
Strange. Yeah, it is strange.
I would recommend it. It's it's good to watch. It's good to watch. It's entertaining and it is good, and it will give you but it's good because I think it's one of those when, especially in that period, you don't have to. There's only a few episodes that they are to be continued. You need to watch back to back. Otherwise, they are single episode in series, I suppose, like that, where you don't have to watch. You could jump in and watch out of sequence, and they still would make sense, most of them. So yeah.
Why don't we get enough of Avery Brooks? What else? I want more of him. What did he do after Deep Space Nine?
I have no idea. No idea.
It just says he's a retired actor now, but he's 76. Hey, Picard he's still acting. He's 90, but
I think he went back to the stage, didn't he? Because he was a Broadway, wasn't he? I think.
Oh, probably. He's just. Oh, he plays the piano too. I would like. The combination of the writing of Sisko and his acting, it was just so good. Darn! Now you're getting me started again. Now I have no time to keep rewatching all this stuff. If Jay
watches it, if Jay pick one, do Deep Space Nine, not Deep Space Nine, do Next Generation, and then we'll do a one-off Star Trek special.
All right, I could do that.
This is the word thing. Is somebody asked me, and it was if you had to save one of them as they are right now, if you could write and do a showrunner of Star Trek or Star Wars, what would you do? I would pick Star Trek to save it. I think that's easier to turn it around and make it better than the state of Star Wars right now. And that's it.
Interesting.
And I would set it in 20 years after the end of Deep Space Nine. That's it. And I would do it on one of the sons. Dum, 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 who's just got
There's
born.
more good stories there. So what's his name? Why do I always forget his name? Colomini.
Yeah. What's his son called?
I can't. That's what I'm struggling.
I would do it on his son, because it's Kai. He got a weird name, I think. But O'Brien's son, because he's a baby. You do it on that, and he's not in Star Trek. If you do it, his sister is in Star Trek, and he's not.
Because they did Geordie's daughter. Geordie's daughter as an engineer. Daughter. I keep saying daughter. Daughter as an engineer in. What was she in? Was Discovery? Was she in Discovery? Was it Geordie's daughter?
Yeah.
I didn't even watch.
Probably a a cried trans lesbian kind of when she just cried about her feelings in it. Probably.
No, I think actually they portrayed her well. At least what
okay.
if I'm thinking what I
it's
saw.
just everybody else. They did that
Yeah.
thing. Non-binary crying people who are in charge of a ship in space.
I agree with you. Well. I think we could save Star Trek because I think there's more good Star Trek. So if you lay out all of Star Trek and you lay out all of Star Wars in terms of content, there's more good Star Trek to save. You've got all the seasons of Deep Space Nine, most of the seasons of TNG, most of the seasons of the original series, a couple of seasons of most of the Voyager. You've got more content that was quality content than if you look at all of Star Wars, and everything beyond a few of the films has been absolute garbage.
Oh, you would have to kill. You would have to. The only way you could do Disney Star Wars, save that, is literally remove everything they did, even the good stuff, because it doesn't make sense.
It's not like there's that much of it.
That's
Yep,
it.
kill all the
like
sequels.
Mandalorian 1 and 2.
Like there's that much.
Was it Rogue One? Get rid of.
Yeah, get rid of those.
You would have to burn it. You would have to
Which
burn
is
it.
a sacrifice I'm willing to make to get rid of The Last
and
Jedi and everything else.
But yeah, I think with
the Acolyte,
with Star Trek, I think everybody hated STD. And I think like there's things and other like the things. And I think anybody who is a fan who would buy into it now would be happily like, yeah, it's gone. Thank you very much. Even though it sits over there and you can watch it if you want to watch it, but it does not exist. And I think with Star Wars, you still got the defenders of crap. And I don't know why they do it with Disney. I think if Star Trek was with Disney, you were going to have that same problem. Where people are going to defend it. Yeah, it is.
It's just they don't want to lose, even though they don't even believe in what they believe in. They don't want to be losers.
Right.
Yeah, it's people crying over the next
stubborn thing at this point.
Like it was announced, wasn't it? Like I think it was last week that what was it called? What was the Acolyte? That was set up for 3 seasons. Now they're all sorry, you can cry as much as you want. Why? Because nobody watched it. It's a piece of crap. And that's me being very, very polite.
I watched one episode.
It was terrible.
That's it.
I ended up doing a spoiler-free review at the close of that show. And part of the review, I remember saying something along the lines of like, there's a lot of ways that it breaks lore, but I can't get into that in this review because it's spoiler-free, yada, yada. And somebody just recently, like a couple weeks ago, commented on it saying like, I would love to see you do a review on how it breaks lore. I'm just like, I didn't even respond. I'm like, dude, Disney gave up on this show. If Disney doesn't even consider this show worth it, I'm not taking the time to do another video on it. Like, I'm good. There's plenty of them if you want to go look it up. There's nothing I'm going to say that's any different that I feel like I have to make because of your comment.
They are out there.
You can go look up the video. But just to think somebody still cares that much about like the fact that I didn't like the Acolyte, like, sorry, dude. I don't know what to tell you.
That's the thing.
I got a good laugh out of it.
Let's take all the Star Wars garbage series, right? And let's just and let's look at Star Trek. I can probably think in my head of 10, 15, 20 specific episodes in the Star Trek universe that have resonated with me, and I can remember them and they meant something to me. I guarantee these quote fans can't think back to an episode that meant anything to them. And I think on a previous stream when we got off talking on Star Trek, I mentioned, that one episode where the David Ogden Stiers character, when a certain race gets to a certain age, I think it's 60, they have to die. And that episode just impacted me. And there's other ones too. There's the episode where, I'm sorry, it is a Wesley Crusher episode, but the episode where Wesley steps in a flower bed and I guess it's all around death. He must die. Like you get the death penalty for stepping in a flower bed. And I think for me, it's all those episodes around the Prime Directive and when do you interfere and when don't you interfere. And it kind of reflects a little bit on things like the sacredness of our Constitution, right? Sometimes we don't agree with the result, but we have to defend the structure of our country. And we don't always agree on how it ends. Or the decision might not be toward my personal liking, but I have to defend the process and the reason the rules are there. And so I think it's those kinds of, but I can remember all those episodes. And no, I haven't seen them a million times. So I've memorized, but they resonated with me. I guarantee there aren't any Star Trek modern day fans that can point to a particular episode of Obi-Wan Kenobi and say how it's impacted their lives.
Right.
I
Well, it
I
just
I, I had
becomes
forgotten that series completely anyway.
right for I think for a lot of some of the people who try to hold up this opinion, or I guess I shouldn't say try, they hold up this opinion that they loved it, it was great, the greatest thing Star Wars has ever done. Every time they do something new, you kind of wonder, like you do wonder, well, what is it that was so great? And you feel like the only things you hear back is, well, Ahsoka showed up, or Anakin showed up, and his
Power.
lightsaber was red, and these kind of things. And it's like, I mean, if that's what gets you by in watching these shows, so be it. It's all subjective. You get to like whatever you
Jangly
like
keys.
and all that. Right. Yeah. And like, and if that's what gets you by, so be it. I've had the keys jangled in me, in front of me, in front of for some things that I like that, hey, I get excited for it too. I don't let that be the only thing I like. I don't let that be the only thing that I'm not going to then go and say, well, the Avatar show on Netflix was great because I heard Secret Tunnel. Like, no, I loved hearing Secret Tunnel because it's a great song, but it was also completely misplaced. It wasn't in book 1. They took it from book 2 just to do the jangling key. Like, I can criticize the fact that it was a wrong thing to put in the show. Was it in a vacuum? Was it cool to hear the song because they did it as it should have been sung? Yeah, sure. They messed up that entire episode. They had the 2 wrong characters go into the tunnel. Like, everything about it was wrong. So you can accept the fact that like you enjoyed the jangling of keys, but also say the show was still crap at the end of the day. And for me, that's my kind of example to use, or the Avatar show, because there's a lot of episodes of the animated series of Avatar that has a lot of that personal, effect in terms of the way they were written, the stories they told, the character development, all that stuff that had an impact on, me personally, and why it's one of my favorite shows. For a lot of these people who kind of tried to say that all these things are so great, to me, I think it just comes down to that key jangling stuff, which again, fine, so be it. I'm not going to tell you what opinion to have. But also, don't get upset when I then, do a review on The Acolyte, didn't like it, and 4 months later, you're challenging me to tell you what I didn't like. No, like I'll make videos on what I want to. Thank you. If Disney's moved on from that show, so have I.
So have I.
I always laugh, like the sometimes the excuse is, oh, like Andor is the best thing that they've done, but it lost money. And then you're like, but that's the best thing they've done, and it lost money because nobody cared about it.
Yeah,
it's the best of the worst. It's the best of the worst. Mm-hmm. Okay, but you've then got all the other shows that nobody cared about. Everybody literally watched 1 or 2 episodes. They drove the fandom away, and they all lost money. We can see that because they are having to be to get their tax relief back from the UK government. They have to give their earnings. Greatest thing probably the government over here has ever done, so we can actually have a look to actually see what you actually lost how much money. But the problem is the people who are writing this writer's room are still there. They're still getting this jobs, and you're like, it's not great. It's not great for people to go, oh, I can foul at what I do and still get paid for it, because these people are fouling every single thing they do. Nobody's buying into, except for it's like the defenders, and they keep on losing money, and they keep on getting the next job. All they get is the next showrunner going, I've got an idea, can you write it for me? And they go, yeah, what's your idea? Yeah, we'll write this piece of crap. And it's like that, and then you go, oh, just run with it, and nobody buys it. Nobody
but you're a
buys
woman, so it's okay. Yay.
It's failing upwards. It's every time you fail, you continue to either get a promotion or hold on to your job. It's a bizarre strategy. I mean, again, I'm not running these companies. Do whatever you want. What do I know? I'm just a guy who's got a small YouTube channel. But
but I'm not off any corporate entity. Any of us was high up in a corporate entity, and you had one team that you gave them a go and they messed up, and you were like, look, we're going to give you another chance, and then they messed up, and then they kept on messing up. You're not telling me any director, CEO, or whatever will go in there. Go,
shareholders do not accept
you're
that.
All fired. Why? Because you're the ones
Disney does
money. You're losing, and I think that's why people got disjointed with not just Star Wars, but Disney in general, because you keep on failing, and then you keep on doing the same thing, and it's sometimes they're not even pushing their ideology. They're apparently going to stop now, but how you just literally shareholders are not gone, what is going, there's something odd, and people just can't put their finger on it. You can have conspiracy theories or whatever, but literally how you can't now make good TV And then and it's like
It's like
and
all
then
of a
just
sudden the whole industry forgot how to make good stuff.
Yeah.
Kind of weird.
And that's it. And then the one the one streaming service that everybody was laughing at, Paramount, has now come back with Sheridan.
Yeah.
And he keeps everything he writes is a hit. And because why? Because he's writing stories about people and people's lives. And people are interested.
And
it's
not
like,
for nothing.
yeah.
Not for nothing with Paramount specifically. People kind of took a laugh at them having their own streaming service, and I know they've had some bad shows, like the Halo show was not well received. I didn't watch it personally, but I know people didn't like it, and it got canceled pretty quickly. I think 2 seasons. Things like Star Trek Discovery and all this, but they've also, like you said, they've got the Sheridan kind of universe of all his different things he's working on,
including
they've
Sicario.
Been the one. Yep,
that was interesting.
He's done the Sonic movies, I believe, are under Paramount, if I'm correct.
Yep,
I want to say they are, which Sonic fans love those. And they've at least done something like acknowledge, hey, look, Star Trek Discovery was obviously not something that worked. We're going to decanonize it. Like, credit to them for that. Is it a little bit of reaction instead of being, reactive instead of proactive in terms of handling your IP? Yeah, maybe. But at this point, I can at least respect the person who's going to be reactive and have a reaction that says, look, we've made a mistake. Let's fix it. Then just we're going to plow ahead with what we're doing, even though it's not working.
I think everybody's ever made a mistake, and it'd be good for one of these CEOs to do a live cast. We bug it up.
Yeah,
we're gonna
sorry.
literally start.
Our bad guys. That's it.
Yeah, they kind of half-heartedly did it with like the DCU with James Gunn, but they should have just come and look. We messed up. They didn't work. We're gonna reset. People like whatever characters or the actors doing it, but look, we were losing, so we're gonna try and James Gunn.
Reset. I know it's weird to do a reboot this quickly, but
that's what they need to do. They need to be a bit more open with these people, because at the end of the day, we're buying into it. They need us. That's the thing, and that's what I think a lot of these corporate entities, they forget. Without us, you're gone. And that's what's hurting a lot of these IPs, is the people they were serving to and were interested and invested. They've just lost. They don't care, and they've moved on, and they've moved on in a bitter way. And unfortunately, and then most people until they get that clean slate, and they're not going to come back on a lot of them. It's like that. So, but it's a problem at the moment. I think that industry, what they're doing, like I always say, we don't get a lot of unfortunately independent ones anymore. You don't get like a Farscape. You don't get that anymore. I don't like it. It'd be great to have that kind of back in the game where you could do, what is this? This is interesting. You don't get that anymore. It's just all mainstream crap. If it's crap on some terrible thing on Netflix, what is a bunch of crap always normally is. I don't think I can't remember the last thing I've watched on there that I was like, wow, that's a game changer, for a few years. But that's it. They need to sort themselves out, but they need to know when to take the L's and not blame the people who got pissed off and didn't watch it, because there's one person. It's like having the one person shouting in a room of 10,000 people, and and they believe they're right, and everybody else is like, no, you're not. No, you're not. By the way, you're not.
There was a quote I heard a few years back that I've always liked. It was from another YouTuber who I can't remember exactly who it was. So forgive me for forgetting who exactly said this. I believe the person I heard it from was a YouTuber named Trillium, but I can't remember if she had heard it from somebody else or not. So whoever was the origins of this quote, please feel free to take credits if you happen to be listening in the comments. Just say, hey, yeah, that was my quote. But the quote was something along the lines of, when these companies get these IPs, they think they're inheriting a bunch of built-in fans, but what they're really inheriting is a bunch of passionate critics. And I think that's such a fantastic way to put it, because it's the truth. You're not just getting these people who are going to see, something dressed as an IP they like or know and love and just automatically love it. What you're really getting is people who are going to put that IP or whatever you do with it under a microscope almost immediately. And, you can call them whatever names you want at the end of the day, but they're the driving force behind the money that fuels those IPs. So if you want to go that route of doing something wrong, or I guess doing something that they won't like and then blaming them for it, them being the, these fans coming in to see what you've done with their IP. Good luck going that route. I just don't see it being a profitable one for you going forward. However, if you do something as simple as, like you said, just take the L, say, hey, yeah, we messed up. We're going to reboot or redo it or reset or decanonize, whatever it is. Most fans will be not only appreciative of that, they'll be very accepting to it as well. Or I should say that backwards. Not only accepting to it, but very appreciative of it as well.
That's a good shout. And then she took a lot of heat for being critical of
The Last of Us Part 2. I think it was
the gaming industry, and Az came to her rescue.
Yes, that's how I found out about Az. Actually, was through her.
Yeah, she ended up with like 10,000 followers, but she's kind of disappeared. You just made me look for her again.
Yeah, she had popped up. She had disappeared for a little while, unfortunately, and then she popped up very randomly just to kind of check in, maybe like 6-7 months ago or something like that. And I was so happy to see it because she is the sweetest person, such a nice person.
So sweet.
Her content was just such a breath of fresh air. Between everything that the kind of internet discourse was, she's just a very like bubbly, very nice, genuine, sweet person. So I hope she one day makes a return to YouTube. But she was taking some heat for, I think, being critical of like The Last of Us Part 2. And that kind of like sparked this whole thing of people like The Quartering and Az come into her defense. And that's actually kind of how I found out about Az, which, sent me down the road of finding out about Gary and Mahler and all these other guys, Critical Drinker and all that. So a lot of who I watch on YouTube, I credit to actually Trillium. She was a fantastic person. I hope
we wouldn't have met if it hadn't been
fair
because
enough.
of Trillium. Wow.
Yep, absolutely. So
well,
I do hope she comes back to YouTube one. I hope, number one, I hope she's doing well. And number two, I hope she comes back to YouTube one day. She was a very nice person. But so she had that great quote, and I've held on to it because I thought it was, or I can't remember if it was her quote or one she heard from somebody else, but I heard it through her, and I've always held on to it because I thought it was a really, really fantastic way to put that, and a truthful one too.
Yes, very, very true. All right, guys, I'm going to call it because it's nearly midnight. Yay!
Fair enough.
But I've had a great one. So next one, Casablanca, everyone. It's a classic. There we go. So, but any other final thoughts, guys?
Nope. Just everybody have a good 2025. Let's get off on the right foot.
Yeah, I know. Dum dum dum. It's so weird. 2025. That's it. Yeah. So,
all right, everyone, do your homework. Watch Casablanca.
It's not a very long movie as well. I don't think it's that long as well. I think it's probably the same.
I haven't looked it up yet.
I think it's a thing. And then Critters! Yay! I'm so excited. I'm so good. Like, that's going to be like a good watch. But everybody have a great rest of the weekend, and we will catch you next week in Film Club for Casablanca. All right, bye for now, everyone.